Chapter 1743. A scourge lives for 1,000 years. For third Elder Chow, the dead cannot be brought back to life. My condolences to you. Even though Lung Ruoxue was disdainful of this old man's acting, she still consoled him out of goodwill. After Lung Ruoxue finished speaking, third Elder Chow choked on his sobs for a while before slowly getting up. Suddenly, he noticed that Chung Xian-er's eyelids seemed to have moved. He quickly shouted, "Wait! Sienna didn't die." "What?" When Lung Ruoxue and the rest heard this, they quickly ran to Chung Xian-er's side and bent down to check. After checking, they found that Chung Xian-er was still alive. Not only her, but even Chung Yi was still breathing. However, their injuries were not light, and they were in a state of unconsciousness. With trembling hands, third Elder Chow took out 2 healing pills and stuffed them into their mouths. After a while, the siblings slowly woke up. "Big brother, where are we now?" Chung Xian-er couldn't help but ask as she looked at her brother. "Don't worry, you're still alive." Without waiting for Chung Yi's reply, Lin Yuan said in a bad mood, "This is really a disaster that lasts for 1,000 years. Chung Xian-er, this hateful woman, was actually not killed. That black-clothed man was really unprofessional." He couldn't help but feel that way in his heart. In fact, if it were anyone else in Chung Xian-er's position, he would still sympathize with them. However, the people who had escaped from a great disaster were Chung Xian-er and her brother. He couldn't sympathize with them no matter what. In addition, Chung Yi had caused them to be besieged by the monsters. Therefore, in his eyes, this pair of brother and sister deserved to die. Unfortunately, they had actually managed to survive. There was an unspeakable regret in his heart, but he would not say it out loud since she had just escaped from death. At most, he would only complain a little in his heart. "Big brother, we actually didn't die," Chung Xian-er said with a smile on her face. However, her eyes immediately caught sight of Lung Ruoxue, who was very close to her, and the anger in her heart was immediately hooked. "Lung Shui, you actually left us in the lurch. Our Chung family will never let you off," Chung Xian-er said, her embarrassment turning into anger. After hearing Chung Xian-er's words, Lung Ruoxue chuckled and questioned, "Miss Chung, when you say that you're not going to save me, do you mean that I didn't use this house to exchange for the lives of you and your sister?" "Of course." Chung Xian-er nodded. "Miss Chung, let's not talk about whether the man in black will really let you and your sister go after I give this house to him. I just want to know, do you think that all of our lives added together are not as valuable as you and your sister?" Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. "Thanks, of course. We're direct descendants of the Chung family," Chung Xian-er said matter-of-factly. "Hee. So what if you're a direct descendant of the Chung family? We still have the young masters of the Chung and Ning families here. Could it be that their lives are not as valuable as yours?" After Lin Yuan heard Chung Xian-er's words, he looked at her as if she was an idiot. "I didn't mean it that way. What I meant was if Big Brother Young Master and Big Brother Lan were both present at that time, they would definitely think of ways to save us siblings." Chung Xian-er hurriedly explained. "Miss Chung, where do you get your confidence from?" Lin Yuan's face was filled with shock. "Isn't this what I should do?" Chung Xian-er said in a self-righteous manner. "Miss Chung, nothing is necessary. Since you were born in a super family, you should know the meaning of the words 'take the big picture into consideration.' You know very well what the situation was at that time. If you think that I didn't use the house to exchange for your lives, I don't mind leaving you to die. However, what I want to say is that in my opinion, the lives of you 2 siblings are far less important than the lives of so many of us. If I had to do it again, I would still do the same. Of course, if your young master Big Brother and Big Brother Lan want to save you, I won't stop them, but I also won't care about their life or death. Also, I want to tell you that even if I hand this house over to the black-clothed man, he won't let you off. At that time, I'm afraid even we won't be able to escape from disaster, and this might be what you want." Lung Ruoxue said emotionlessly. She could be said to be cold-blooded and not help, but she had never been a saint. She was selfish. In her heart, it was enough as long as the people she valued were good. As for other irrelevant people, They were not within the scope of her concern. How do you know that he won't let us go? Are you guys on the same side? Besides, don't wrong me. I don't want you guys to die with me. Chung Xian furiously roared, her originally pale face turning red from anger. Miss Chung, did I wrong you, or did you wrong me? Lung Ruoxue was speechless. To think that Chung Xian could think of something like this. She actually said that she was in cahoots with the man in black. If they were really in cahoots, she would definitely make Chung Xian her first target. Xian don't talk nonsense. Sensing the hostility in Lung Ruoxue's tone, Third Elder Chow immediately chided her. At this moment, no matter who was in the right or wrong, they could not afford to offend Lung Ruoxue. Otherwise, if she chased them out of the house, they would really have no way out. After reprimanding Chung Xian, Third Elder Chow turned to look at Lung Ruoxue and said, Miss Lung, Xian is still young and insensible. Please don't take it to heart. He'll apologize to you on her behalf. I'm sorry. Third Elder Chow said with great sincerity. As he spoke, he even bowed to Lung Ruoxue. Chung Xian who was at the side, saw how Third Elder Chow was bowing and scraping to Lung Ruoxue. Her heart was instantly filled with anger. However, after receiving Third Elder Chow's warning gaze, she tactfully shut her mouth. After all, she still needed this old man's protection. Otherwise, it would not be easy for her to leave this mystic realm alive. Hence, she tactfully chose to swallow her anger. Chapter 1744. You become smarter. 1. Young and insensible? Old man, Miss Chung might be young, but she's almost 100 years old, right? Most of us aren't even half her age. Moreover, according to her age, she's her grandmother. You really have the nerve to talk about her age. Lin Yuan sneered as he glanced at Elder Chow San, not giving him any face at all. That's right. Moreover, even if she was really young, she shouldn't be spouting nonsense. Although we are not as strong as you, we're not to be slandered by others. Grape, who was standing beside Lung Ruoxue, said angrily, Who dares to slander us? At this time, Fengde and Lu Tao walked out of the courtyard together. After hearing Grape's words, they immediately became angry and questioned her. Who else could it be? Of course, it's Miss Chung Xian. Grape said in an unpleasant tone. Chung Xian, isn't she dead? Feng Da's face was full of question marks when he heard this. You're the one who's dead. Feng Da's words made Chung Xian extremely angry, and she retorted without even thinking. Fuck, are you a human or a ghost? Looking at Chung Xian, Feng Da's face was filled with fear. When the others heard Feng Da's words, they couldn't help but laugh. You're the ghost. Of course I'm a human. Chung Xian became even angrier as she heard the laughter. But weren't you killed by the man in black? Why did he come back to life again? Oh my god, this was really too terrifying, Tao Tao. I'm scared. Protect me. Fengde said exaggeratedly. After he finished speaking, he even hid behind Green Peach to seek protection with a face full of fear. A scourge lives for 1,000 years. What are you afraid of? Lu Tao glared at Fengde and said with double meaning. Tao Tao. Hearing Lu Tao's tone, Fengde knew that his dear was still angry. He immediately lowered his head, but in his heart, he kept thinking of ways to appease Lu Tao. I told you, you're not allowed to call me Tao Tao. Lu Tao said fiercely. Every time Fengde called her Tao Tao, she would think of that monkey in Yulin. She had to take advantage of this opportunity to correct this matter because she had said it many times in the past, but Fengde had always turned a blind eye to it. Tao. Fengde just said one word, and under the glare of Green Peach, he swallowed the words he had yet to finish speaking. Then, he peeked at Green Peach with the eyes of a little wife. I didn't die, and I didn't come back to life. Chung Xian who had been completely ignored, couldn't help but grit her teeth and say this. Oh, when Fengde heard this, he deliberately dragged out his voice, as if he was somewhat regretful. Damn it, what kind of attitude is that? Feng Da's tone made Chung Xian go crazy. What's my attitude? Didn't I just say, oh? He didn't say anything? Fengde felt a little wronged. Why did all these women like to bully him? He didn't have a face that was easy to bully. Besides, other than his miss and his Tao Tao, no other woman could bully him. Thanks you. Chang Xian-er was so angry that she glared at him. Who asked her to say, oh? It was more annoying than anything else. Unfortunately, Feng De and the others did not care about her feelings at all. It's really lively. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a loud laugh rang out in everyone's ears. Everyone quickly turned around and saw a middle-aged man in black standing at the exit of the valley. Beside him were at least hundreds of black-robed men and countless monsters. When everyone saw this, their hearts instantly sank to the bottom. Fuck, how could there still be so many? Did they just poke into the monster's nest? If I'm not wrong, you must be the leader of these minions and monsters. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. The middle-aged man in front of her had unfathomable strength. There was also a hint of killing intent on his body. The feeling he gave off was quite out of place and uncomfortable. Leader? I'm their king. The middle-aged man clearly didn't like being called head and corrected him. There's no difference in my eyes, Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Oh, really? Little girl, you're very courageous. Unfortunately, such people usually don't live long. The middle-aged man reminded with a faint smile. His deep eyes seemed to sweep over Chang Xian-er, who was sitting on the ground. Chang Xian-er's heart palpitated with fear, and she felt extremely guilty. Chang Xian was a little scared when she saw the middle-aged man. What if this middle-aged man told her what she had promised him? Then Lung Ruoxue and the others would definitely not be able to tolerate her anymore. What should she do? Her mind spun quickly as she thought of a countermeasure. Right? She would say that this man forced her to do this, or else he would have killed her. Right? Just say it like this. Chang Xian-er, who was staring at the middle-aged man warily, quickly came up with a reason for her actions. At the same time, she also felt relieved. That's because you haven't seen people with long lives. After a long while, Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes lightly swept over the guilty-looking Chang Xian-er as she calmly smiled. You really have a sharp tongue, but I like to deal with smart people. How about we make a deal? The middle-aged man did not get angry at Lung Ruoxue's words. Instead, he spoke in an extremely friendly manner. What kind of deal? Lung Ruoxue was a little curious. Actually, she knew that this middle-aged man had been here for a while. However, he did not intend to act rashly, and she naturally did not want to alert him. Hence, she had been pretending not to know anything. Now, it seemed that this middle-aged man had a request, which was why he did not make a move immediately. I'm quite interested in your house. Give it to me, and it'll let you live. How about it? The middle-aged man said. In fact, he had thought about killing these people and taking the house as his own. However, after seeing their combat power, he changed his mind. After all, he had already lost many monsters. If he used force to force them, he was afraid that both sides would be injured. This little girl's flame was too terrifying, and that Uncle Long was probably as strong as him. As for the others, he hadn't found anything special so far, but he didn't dare to take any more risks. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to bear the blame of his lord. Quickly agreed to his request and give him the house. Let him send us out of here. Without waiting for Lung Ruoxue's reply, Chang Xian-er impatiently shouted, Miss Chung, this isn't your house, so it's up to me to decide if you want to give it to me. Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a cold smile. Then what are you waiting for? If we give him a house, he will let us live and we can leave this place. Moreover, this time it's not just for me. If you don't hand over the house to him, we will all lose our lives. Chang Xian-er said fearfully. The moment she thought of death, her face would turn deathly pale. Furthermore, her words were also somewhat instigating. Didn't Lung Ruoxue previously say that for the sake of everyone's lives, she wouldn't use the house in exchange for her? Now, she was using the house to exchange for everyone's lives. She wanted to see if this woman would still be as cold-blooded to everyone as she was to her. Chapter 1745. You become smarter, too. Miss Lung, third Elder Chow, called out softly. He wanted to say something, but stopped himself. In fact, he had the same thoughts as Chang Xian-er. Since he was destined not to get this house, it would be good to exchange it for their lives. However, he didn't dare to say this out loud. He wasn't as blind as Chung Xian. He was very clear that in front of Lung Ruoxue and the others, he was the weaker party. In fact, the two remaining elders of the Cao family still had to rely on her to take care of them. Hence, at this moment, he was extremely unwilling to make Lung Ruoxue unhappy. Do you really think he'll let us go if we give him a house? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile that was not a smile. Why did these two people look down on the house that she owned? Did they have to force her to give up the house so that they would feel better? She was helpless. Miss Lung, my words carry enormous weight. The middle-aged man interrupted. I didn't ask you. Lung Ruoxue said without giving him any face. Lung Ruoxue's words caused the middle-aged man to be angered. However, in order to obtain this house of his dreams, he had to endure. He would deal with them properly after he got the house. Didn't he say it? As long as you give him the house, he'll definitely let us go. Chung Xian followed the middle-aged man's words and hurriedly said, It looks like Miss Chung really believes in him. However, I don't believe him. Lung Ruoxue laughed lightly and expressed her thoughts. You tricked me. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Chung Xian's embarrassment turned into anger. How am I playing with you? I just said that I don't trust him, so I naturally won't hand the house over to him. Lung Ruoxue said honestly, Don't tell me you want to disregard the lives of so many of us. You're really not just cold-blooded. Chung Xian's face was filled with disappointment. Following that, she turned to Feng De and the others with a pained expression. Is this the master you acknowledged? She doesn't care about your lives at all. Do you still want to be loyal to her? Miss Chung, we will definitely obey Miss' decision. So, since Miss doesn't believe him, we naturally won't believe him either. Moreover, this house belongs to Miss. She can give it to us if she wants to or not. Outsiders have no right to judge her. Therefore, please shut your mouth. Grape said in an unpleasant tone. You're just a maidservant. What right do you have to represent everyone? Can you represent it? Seeing that even a lowly servant girl dared to criticize her, Chung Xian's chest felt like it was blocked by a large stone, and she was extremely depressed. It doesn't mean that. You didn't say it. You have to ask them. Grape pointed at Feng De and the others disapprovingly. Grape's words are exactly what we want to say. Miss Chung Xian, please shut your mouth. Otherwise, we don't mind leaving you to your own devices. Feng De said, supporting Grape. After hearing this, Grape also gave Feng De an appreciative look. She's just a maidservant, and you all actually listen to her. Chung Xian's pale face was filled with disbelief. She is young Miss Maidservant, and we are also young Miss Subordinates. Our status and identity are the same, and there is no distinction between high and low. More importantly, what she says is what we want to say, not what you think we will listen to her. Feng De said, Are you not afraid of death? If your master doesn't hand this house over to them, they will kill us. Chung Xian's face was deathly pale as she warned. Do you think he can kill us just because he wants to? Miss Chung, how can you boost other people's morale and diminish your own? You must know that it's a great taboo to be afraid before a battle. However, you've been pampered since young, so it's no wonder you're afraid of death. We're different. We're used to death, so we're not afraid of death. Feng De said happily. Feng De's words caused Chung Xian to be half dead. Fuck, what do you mean by dead habit? Could it be that they had died many times? Or could it be that hell was opened by their own family, and dying was like going home? Thanks, Chung Xian's expression flickered, and her mind whirred. Then, she fixed her gaze on Chung Xian. Big brother young master. You're our Chung family's young master. Chung Xian was racking her brains to persuade Chung Xian to stand on her side, but before she could finish, she was interrupted by Chung Xian. Xian, that house belongs to them, and we have no right to ask what they want to do with it. Chung Xian said hurriedly. He peeked at Lung Ruoxue from the corner of his eyes and prayed in his heart, Great aunt, don't be angry with him. He and Chung Xian were not on the same side. Ning Haolon lowered his head and chuckled when he saw Chung Xian's cautious expression. However, His action attracted Chung Xian-er's attention. "Brother Lan," Chung Xian-er called out in a soft voice. "Miss Chung, I'm just living under someone else's roof." Ning Haolan reminded him, implying that he could not do anything about this matter. "You? Are you not afraid of death? One of you is the young master of the Chung family, and the other is the young master of the Ning family. If something were to happen to you, what would the Chung and Ning families do?" Chung Xian-er shouted in disappointment when she saw the two of them shirking. Without them, there will be someone else from the Chung and Ning families to be the young master. Maybe it's just nice to make room for someone else. Fonda said with a smile. "Are you hoping that they'll die?" Chung Xian-er angrily glared at Fonda. "I'm just telling the truth. How could he hope that they would die?" "Miss Chung, there's something wrong with your comprehension." Fonda felt wronged. His words might not be pleasant to hear, but they were the truth. "All right, stop arguing, Miss Chung. The majority of us have the same opinion. The minority is subordinate to the majority. I won't give them this house. If you're really so afraid of death, then just leave. I don't think they'll make things difficult for a woman like you." Lung Ruoxue suggested disapprovingly. "How do you know they won't make things difficult for me? They almost killed me." Chung Xian-er roared madly as the fury in her eyes shot towards Lung Ruoxue. If looks could kill, Lung Ruoxue would have died 1,000,000 times over. "But they didn't kill him, did they?" Lung Ruoxue asked doubtfully. "That's because I'm useful," Chung Xian-er roared. After shouting, she suddenly realized that she had misspoken. She immediately regretted it so much that she wanted to bite off her own tongue. "Value? I wonder what kind of value Miss Chung has. I'm really curious." Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "Miss Chung, can you dispel my doubts?" Then, Lung Ruoxue looked at Chung Xian-er and requested. I, Chung Xian-er stammered, and a trace of panic flashed through her beautiful eyes. "I'll tell you." At this time, the middle-aged man who had been watching the show for a long time could not help but speak again. Chapter 1746. You've become smarter. 3. You shut up. Hearing the middle-aged man's words, Chung Xian-er immediately roared. "How dare you? You actually dare to shout at me. Don't tell me you've forgotten how you knelt before me and begged me not to kill you. Did you forget that you were the one who volunteered to be a hostage to lure your brother into opening the door and letting those monsters in? Don't tell me you've forgotten that it was you who told me that this little girl has a spatial divine artifact that can allow people to live in, and that she wanted to use it to exchange for her life? Don't tell me you've forgotten." The middle-aged man calmly explained everything. With every point he said, Chung Xian-er's face became paler and paler, and the faces of everyone else present also became uglier. However, this was the result he wanted. After the middle-aged man finished speaking, Fonda and the rest's faces turned black. Fonda shot forward and grabbed Chung Xian-er in his hands. "What a good miss, Chung. In order to survive, you betrayed us. Unfortunately, your wishful thinking is wrong. All of us are alive and well, except for the CAO family." Feng Da's words made Elder Chao's anger burn even more. He never dreamed that Chung Xian was the one who willingly became a hostage. She even caused the deaths of several elders of the CAO family. How could he accept this fact? Elder Chao Sin was filled with anger as he walked forward and pulled Chung Xian out of Feng Da's hands. Then a pa-pa sound could be heard. In the blink of an eye, Chung Xian-er's beautiful face had become as swollen as a pig's head. When the weak Chung Yi saw this, although he couldn't bear it, he still turned his head without saying a word. At this time, the regret in his heart could not be described by words. If he had known that Xian-er was willing to be a hostage and wanted to use it to threaten them, he would definitely not have left. However, what was the use of thinking about this now? The mistake had been made, and there was no way to redeem it. He had also become a cripple. This was really karma. He secretly cried, Third grandpa, don't hit me. Whoa, I didn't want to do this. They forced me to do this. If I didn't agree, they would have killed me. I don't want to die." Chung Xian-er sobbed and begged. She was already dizzy from the beating, and there was a sweet taste in her mouth. The swelling on her cheek tormented her senses, and tears gushed out of her eyes like a fountain. When Chung Xian-er was being beaten up, Neither Lung Ruoxu's group nor the middle-aged man's men had any intention of interfering. After all, this was their family matter. However, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were too lazy to care. As for the middle-aged man's side, they were merely watching the show. Oomph. She still dared to shout at him when she didn't complete her task. If he didn't teach this kind of person a lesson, she wouldn't even know her own name. The middle-aged man secretly thought to himself. It was undeniable that he had deliberately said the matter of Cheng Xian-er. This was also to punish Cheng Xian-er for not doing her job well and causing him to lose so many monsters. More importantly, Cheng Xian-er no longer had any value in his eyes. Her words had no weight in front of that little girl, and she was once his prisoner. If such a person was allowed to live, wouldn't it make her look incompetent? Thus, Cheng Xian-er's fate was a tragedy. Everything she wanted to hide was exposed to the eyes of the middle-aged man. It was as if a piece of cloth had been pulled off, and she could no longer hide it. As for Cheng Xian-er's fate, it was not within the scope of the middle-aged man's concern. After a long time, Chao San's elder was finally tired from the beating, and Cheng Xian-er, who was swollen like a pig's head, fainted again. However, no one cared about her life or death. As for Lung Ruoxue and the rest, they started to stare at the black-robed men. No one spoke first. Thanks, little girl. Think about it. As long as you give me the house, I promise to send you out of the secret realm. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll be trapped here forever. After a long time, the middle-aged man did not give up and started to persuade him again. You don't have to say anything. I won't give this house to you. Lung Ruoxue said with determination. You guys aren't afraid of death? Or do you really want to stay here forever, never to leave? The middle-aged man said in disbelief. He had never met such a tactless little fellow before. He had already said so much, but she still insisted on her own idea. Now, he really didn't know if she was smart or if she had something to rely on. We're not afraid of death, and we don't want to stay here forever. Lung Ruoxue laughed. They could leave whenever they wanted to and didn't need anyone to arrange it for them. Furthermore, they didn't have any plans to leave at the moment. Hence, this middle-aged man's efforts were in vain. Little girl, I know that your flames are very powerful and can exterminate the monsters here. However, don't blame me for not warning you. Even if all the monsters here are dead, you will still be trapped here if I don't send you out. The middle-aged man reminded her with extreme caution. In reality, he was very serious about making this deal with Lung Ruoxue. Furthermore, he had already decided that once the deal was successful, he would send them off. After all, there were many people in the mystic realm, and it did not matter if they had a few people. Hence, he was happy to do her a favor at no cost. However, he was surprised that Lung Ruoxue had actually rejected it. However, he didn't fly into a rage because of the rejection. As the saying goes, the things that can't be obtained are the most precious. This could also inspire his fighting spirit, and he was even more determined to get that house. Don't you think you're too important? Lung Ruoxue scoffed at the middle-aged man's words. Ha ha, little girl, do you think I'm lying to you? They'll tell you the truth. There's only an entrance to this secret realm, but no exit, and the only way out is only known to me. So, you'd better believe me, otherwise you'll have to wait to stay in here for the rest of your life. When a middle-aged man heard Lung Ruoxue's mockery, he laughed out loud proudly. If that's the case, then we won't go out. Lung Ruoxue was extremely calm. You're not going out? Little girl, do you think that you can live in here without going out? Don't be fooled by the fact that the spiritual qi here is still considered rich. However, the spiritual qi here is not born from heaven and earth, but man-made. Sooner or later, it will be exhausted. Have you ever thought about what you people will do when that day comes? Even ordinary people need fresh air to survive, not to mention us cultivating gods. We need Ling energy. Without the support of Ling energy, the Shun power in our bodies will only be used up bit by bit. At that time, it will be the time of our death. The middle-aged man said earnestly. However, Lung Ruoxue was not moved at all, which gave him a headache. Life and death are up to fate. I'm very open about it. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Her words made Feng De and the others laugh in their hearts. Their miss had a heaven-defying space. Of course, she didn't mind staying here forever. Therefore, the middle-aged man's conditions couldn't move their miss at all. As for what her miss wanted, they naturally knew. Chapter 1747. You've become smarter, for, since you are not satisfied with my conditions, then tell me. If I can accept it, I'll agree to it. The middle-aged man suppressed the anger in his heart. After a long silence, he gritted his teeth and said, "There's no other way. I want this house too much. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to swallow my anger. I'm here to look for someone." Lung Ruoxue only said this one sentence and did not say anything else. "What if I give you the person you're looking for?" The middle-aged man asked. "Are you sure you can make this decision?" Lung Ruoxue asked suspiciously. "Of course." The middle-aged man was very confident. He still had the right to let 1 or 2 people go. However, even if he did it, he had to keep it a secret. Otherwise, if his archenemy found out and reported him to his lord, he would be in serious trouble. "That's good. As long as you can give me the person I want, I'll make this deal with you." Lung Ruoxue nodded in agreement. However, as soon as she finished speaking, Uncle Long sent a worried voice transmission. "Little girl, do you really want to make a deal with him? This is his territory. If he changes his mind, we won't have anywhere to protect ourselves." "Uncle Long, don't worry, I have my own plans." Lung Ruoxue gave Uncle Long a reassuring look as she replied. Actually, she was thinking that if she could use this house to exchange for Godfather and the others, it would be worth it. In her heart, Godfather and First Elder were much more important than this house. She didn't agree to it before because the middle-aged man didn't offer enough bargaining chips, and she didn't like it. When Uncle Long heard Lung Ruoxue's promise, he miraculously relaxed. He stood quietly at the side and decided to wait and see. After the middle-aged man heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he replied in a forthright manner. "Little girl, tell me who you're looking for. They'll just bring him here for you. Are you sure you have a right to let them go?" Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with suspicion. "Of course." The middle-aged man was very certain. "But I can't be sure that they're in your hands." Lung Ruoxue pretended to be troubled. "Little girl, if the person you're looking for has really entered the mystery realm, even if he's not in my hands, they'll find a way to find him and bring him to you. That should be fine, right?" The middle-aged man said angrily. He did not expect this wretched girl to be so difficult to deal with. If it was not for the sake of getting the house, he would not tolerate her. "Sure," Lung Ruoxue agreed. Then she turned around and wrote down a list of people, then handed it to the middle-aged man. Thanks, the middle-aged man opened the name list, and his eyes widened. This list was filled with names. Some were human, and some were beast. In total, there were thousands of people. This was clearly playing with him. He was furious. "You're playing with me?" The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes and said in an unfriendly tone, "Why would I trick you? These people are indeed the ones I'm looking for. If you want the house, then give them to me." Lung Ruoxue said innocently. In fact, she only knew a small number of people on the list. Besides the people from the Ning family, she was most familiar with the great elder of the Craftsmen's Guild, the master of the Chung family, and the master of the Yin family who had captured her. However, if she only saved them and ignored the people who had come with them, it seemed a little unreasonable. Although those people had nothing to do with her, she had to be a little nosy for the sake of those few old guys. Moreover, the name list not only included people from the Ning family, Chung family, Yin family, Armament Guild headquarters, and Alchemist Guild headquarters, but also some beasts that Uncle Long wanted to save and the elders of the Dolphin clan that the little dolphin wanted to save. In short, all of these names were added together to form this name list that made the middle-aged man furious. Lung Ruoxue's words were like adding oil to the fire to the middle-aged man. As he looked at the name list in his hands, he was so angry that he could not control the anger in his heart. There was even a faint white mist rising from the top of his head. If it was not for his strong mental fortitude, he would have been angered to death by this wretched girl. Originally, he thought that as long as he let 1 or 2 people go, he would be able to get the house that he coveted. But who knew that the other party's appetite was so big? Let's not talk about whether the people she wanted had already been arrested. Just looking at the list of names made him unable to calm down. He dared to secretly release 1 or 2 people, but he didn't have the right to release so many people at once. Even if he did, he wouldn't dare to. If he really did let her go, he would be the one to die in the next second. He shuddered at the thought of his lord's methods. Why? Are you in a difficult position? Don't you have the right to release a few people? He still dared to call himself king? You still dare to make a deal with me? Seeing that the middle-aged man did not respond for a long time, Lung Ruoxue spoke again. At the same time, her beautiful eyes revealed an unconcealed disdain and disappointment. This isn't just a small number of people, the middle-aged man said through gritted teeth. He was so angry that the veins on his forehead were throbbing. It's a little. The others are all beasts from the endless sea. Lung Ruoxue explained. What does the beasts of the endless sea have to do with you? The middle-aged man resisted the urge to beat someone up and shouted. Of course it's my business. My beastie was born in the endless sea. It wants to save its own people and friends, so I can't stop it from saving them. Love the house as the house, you understand. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. What a good love to the house. Don't tell me that those humans are also the result of loving the house. The middle-aged man said with a dark expression. Yeah, you've become smarter. Lung Ruoxue was not stingy with her praise. Let's quickly make a deal. We'll take them away after I'm done. Following that, Lung Ruoxue started to urge him. Chapter 1748. Crossing the Bridge in Secret 1. Lung Ruoxue's urging and her proud smile caused the middle-aged man's anger to erupt like a volcano. It was out of control. Furthermore, no matter how he looked at Lung Ruoxue's half-smile, with a hint of mockery, it was an eyesore. What a woman who needs a beating. The middle-aged man secretly cursed. This woman had aroused all the anger in his heart, causing his original tender feelings for the woman to disappear. Now, he only wanted to teach this woman who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. A puny deity actually dared to be so presumptuous in front of him and dare to play tricks on him. This was really something that Uncle could tolerate, but Aunt couldn't. Hey, why didn't you give a reaction? When can you bring me the person I want? Lung Ruoxue saw that the middle-aged man only glared at her without saying a word and could not help but ask again. You're really looking for death? How dare you tease me like this? After a long while, the middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said, he had lived for so long, but he had never wanted to beat up a woman so much. The little girl in front of him could be considered to have set a record. I told you, I'm not toying with you. Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was full of grievance. However, in the eyes of the middle-aged man, her pitiful look made her even more deserving of a beating. You used so many people to make a deal with me. If you're not toying with me, are you taking care of me? The middle-aged man's face darkened as he said in an unpleasant tone, I don't think I need that many people. Do you think that you can get this house if I only ask for 1 or 2 people from you? Don't tell me you don't know the value of this house. This house is not something that can be bought with money. Lung Ruoxue said with a look of realization. But you can't take so many people away. The middle-aged man's voice had obviously weakened because he knew that Lung Ruoxue was speaking the truth. The value of this house could not be measured by money. Furthermore, even if he could gather the materials, there was no guarantee that he could successfully forge a spatial-type divine weapon. Hence, in comparison, the value of this house would naturally be higher. Otherwise, even he would not be envious of it. But they are all related to me. I can't just leave them be. If you love the house, you love the house. Don't you understand? Lung Ruoxue said with a troubled look. I don't care what you say, but you can't take so many people away at once. The middle-aged man was burning with anger. He didn't care about his image as he shouted at the top of his lungs. It seems like we can't complete our deal. There was no room for discussion as Lung Ruoxue said with a face full of regret. Following that, she smiled at the middle-aged man and said, How about I leave this woman to you, and you hand over all the people on the list to me? The woman she was referring to was naturally Chung Xian-er. What use do I have for this woman? After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the The middle-aged man was a little angry. This detestable girl. Did she think that he would let go of the people on the name list if she kept the Chung family's young miss? This woman from the Chung family wasn't that important. This woman is very useful. She's a direct descendant of the Chung family. You can take her to the Chung family and extort a huge sum of money from them. Also, don't forget that the CEO family is her maternal family. I heard that they're quite rich. So, with this woman in hand, it can be said that it's a great profit without any cost. What do you think? My suggestion is good, right? Lung Ruoshu asked with an evil smile. Her words made Elder Chao San, who had heard them clearly, almost vomit blood. What kind of person was this? He actually wanted these men in black to use Chung Xian to extort them. Chung Xian had caused such a matter. It was already good enough that he didn't beat her to death. How could their Chao clan allow others to extort them for her? Thanks on the other side. Third Elder Chao was filled with anger and hatred. On the other hand, Chung Xian, who was also listening to Lung Ruoxu's words, looked at Lung Ruoxu with a face full of admiration. He thought to himself, this great and is too amazing. This is a brilliant idea. However, he was very certain that the Chung clan would definitely not pay this sum of money for Chung Xian. Not bad, my ass. She's just a direct descendant of the Chung family. Would the Chung family pay for her? At this time, the middle-aged man also said with a face of disbelief. In his heart, he couldn't help but sigh. He was a reverent god after all. This wretched girl actually wanted him to extort. However, this idea seemed to have piqued his interest. We won't know if we don't try. Lung Ruoxu coaxed. I don't even need to try to know. However, if it was the young master of the Chung family, I might really be able to extort a sum of money. The middle-aged man said in a seemingly serious manner. His shrewd eyes were scanning Chung Xian's body back and forth, as if he was estimating his value. Why? Do you want to be the young master of the Chung family? Lung Ruoxu's eyes widened as she asked curiously. One young master of the Chung family is not enough. I heard that the young master of the Ning family is also here. That's right. The middle-aged man said with a smile. That's right. However, I can't give them to you. I still have other uses for the two of them. The only thing I can give you is this woman. If you don't think it's enough, you can also get her brother involved. Anyway, they have a deep sibling relationship, and I can't beat them up and let them go their separate ways, so I can only fulfill their wishes. Lung Ruoxu said in an understanding manner. Fengda and the others immediately understood what she meant. The young lady was taking revenge. The Chung siblings had almost caused them to lose their lives, and their own miss couldn't kill them personally for the sake of the Chung clan's head and young master. Therefore, she could only throw these two hot potatoes to these black-clothed men. However, they didn't think that these black-clothed men would really want them unless their heads were kicked by a donkey. What if I insist on those two young masters? The middle-aged man's interest was piqued when he saw that Lung Ruoxu did not agree. No room for discussion. They're my people, so I won't give them to you. Also, don't even think about my subordinates. You can have whoever you want. Lung Ruoxu promised. Once she eliminated them, there were 3 people who were not under her protection. These 3 people were Elder Chao San, Chung Yi, and Chung Xian. Miss Lung, you can't hand me over to the men in black. After hearing Lung Ruoxu's suggestion, Third Elder Chao's heart started to throb. A trace of fear emerged from the bottom of his heart, and his face turned frighteningly pale. At this moment, even though he hated Lung Ruoxu for being disloyal, he was also well aware that no one else could help him. If she really abandoned them, then they would only have a dead end in the mystic realm. Hence, even if he hated Lung Ruoxu to the point of wanting to swallow her alive, he had to put on a pitiful look to prevent her from really handing them over. Even if I want to hand them over, they still have to want you. Lung Ruoxu said with a look of disdain. This damned old man had always wanted a scheme against her. Now that his scheme had failed, he finally knew what fear was. What were you doing earlier? When Elder Chao San heard Lung Ruoxu's honest words, he swallowed his saliva with great difficulty and did not dare to speak anymore. The only thing he could do now was to lower his presence and not attract the attention of those men in black. Chapter 1749. Crossing the bridge in secret, too. He was so scared that his intelligence was reduced to 0. Hence, he had never thought about whether the middle-aged man would agree to use this house in exchange for the three of them. He had also never thought about why Lung Ruoxue would say that. Even though she wanted to get rid of these guys, Lung Ruoxue wanted to anger this middle-aged man even more. It would be best if she could anger him to the point of losing his mind. That way, she would be able to fish in troubled waters. More importantly, this was her plan to do the same thing in the open and secretly do it in the dark. She had just sent her beastie to the bottom of the valley. What she needed to do now was to stall the middle-aged man and buy more time for her beasts. Uncle, although the three of them are a little small in number, they're just the added bonus to the house. You can consider it an additional gift from me. Look at the three of them. They're old and young, men and women. They can run errands for you and warm your bed. What a good deal. 1 for 3. There will never be such a cheap deal in this world again. So let's quickly make the deal. Lung Ruoxue explained all the benefits. When she said it, she felt like laughing in her heart. Furthermore, when she saw third Elder Chow's face that was even darker than ink, she felt extremely comfortable in her heart. It was a pity that Chung Xian-er was still unconscious and could not hear her opinion. This made her feel a little regretful. According to what you said, I seem to have gained a huge advantage. The middle-aged man laughed instead of getting angry. To be honest, he was amused by Lung Ruoxue's words. He had lived for so long, and this woman in front of him was the one who deserved the most beating. At the same time, she was also the one who was the best at twisting the truth. However, he was not a fool and would be fooled by her words. Lung Ruoxue could hear the middle-aged man's sarcasm and gave him its good that you know look without a care. Then, she looked at him with a smile, full of anticipation, as if this deal was already set in stone. The middle-aged man was helpless. It seemed like he had to give Lung Ruoxue the title of the most shameless woman. Uncle, when is the deal? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes and acted cute with her sweet mouth as she asked. I didn't say I wanted to trade. The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said angrily, Uncle, what the hell are you doing? If you don't keep your word, you'll be struck by lightning. Lung Ruoxue cursed. The middle-aged man was so angry that he was stammering. Facing Lung Ruoxue, he felt a deep sense of powerlessness because she did not take his words seriously at all. She was always talking to herself, making him feel like a hero who was of no use to her. Uncle, you're the one who wants to make a deal, and you're also the one who reneges. What do you want? You're going to make me angry if you keep repeating this. Lung Ruoxue warned. I've already said that there are too many people on your list. I can't give them all to you. The middle-aged man took a few deep breaths and forced himself to calm down. He didn't want to be fooled by the other party. Moreover, he didn't have all the people on a list. He was still looking for some. Didn't I give you an extra head? Why aren't you satisfied with a 1 for 3 exchange? Lung Ruoxue was slightly angered. Her beautiful eyes were burning with flames of anger as she glared at the middle-aged man. Do you know how many people you want? The middle-aged man clenched his fists tightly. He was trying to calm himself down and not be angered by this woman. I know. Lung Ruoxue nodded and used the same tone to ask. Then do you know the value of my house? Of course he knew. The middle-aged man thought to himself. If he didn't know, he wouldn't be so conflicted, and he wouldn't have wasted so much time talking to her. How about this? Let's each take a step back. It'll give you at most 500 slots. How about it? After some thought, the middle-aged man suggested. This was his final decision after much consideration. Who asked him to want that house so much? If he were to snatch it by force, he had no absolute confidence at all. Moreover, he didn't think that these people would submit to him and let him do whatever he wanted. Thanks, 1,000. I want 1,000 people. Lung Ruoxue started a bargain. 600. I can't go any further. The middle-aged man loosened the quota of 100 people. Then 900. 600 is too little. It's not enough to fill the gaps between my teeth. Lung Ruoxue said in dissatisfaction. 800 people. If you're still not satisfied, then I can only cancel this deal. The middle-aged man threatened. All right then, 800 it is, Lung Ruashua said helplessly. She knew that this was the middle-aged man's bottom line. However, there were 800 of them in the open. She could decide how many of them she wanted to take away in secret. Men, bring 800 of them here according to the names on the list. After discussing the conditions, the middle-aged man immediately ordered his subordinates. Wait! The moment Lung Ruashua heard this, she immediately called for a stop. She couldn't allow the other party to follow the names on the list. After all, there were many punks there to make up the numbers. If the people the other party brought weren't the ones she really wanted to save, wouldn't she suffer a great loss? What are you doing now? The middle-aged man said with a slight headache. The list of names is too wide. I request a new list. Lung Ruashua requested. That's good. Hurry up. The middle-aged man urged. He was already losing his patience from being tormented by this hateful woman. According to his original plan, he just needed to gather 800 men and hand them over to Lung Ruashua, who knew that this little girl was so scheming. Uncle, calm down. It's not like this house can run away. Lung Ruashua smiled as she consoled him. Then, she wrote a new name list and passed it to the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took the name list and looked at it again. The moment he looked at it, his head hurt even more. He knew that this woman would not be easy to fool. Most of the people on the list were the most powerful ones who had been tricked into entering the secret realm. Moreover, he had not caught a considerable number of them yet. How could he complete the deal? He was depressed. Uncle, quickly hand these people over to me. After the deal is done, you can send us out of here. Lung Ruashua chuckled. She kept urging him, but the middle-aged man's face turned uglier and uglier. He still had to send them off. Their deal didn't seem to include this, right? However, he couldn't be bothered to argue with this little girl anymore, mainly because he didn't think he could win her in an argument. Therefore, the only thing he wanted to do now was to send this hateful woman away as soon as possible. Otherwise, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't want to strangle her to death after a long time. Unfortunately, his wish was good, but reality was cruel. Many of the people that Lung Ruashua wanted were not in his hands. Hence, even if he wanted to send this god of plague away as soon as possible, he had no way of doing so. Only a portion of the people you want are in my hands. As for the others, I will find them as soon as possible and bring them to you. The middle-aged man said after some thought. Chapter 1750. Crossing the bridge in secret 3. Good. He'll be waiting here. Lung Ruashua agreed readily. Then, the middle-aged man ordered his men to bring them to their secret location. After receiving the order, this subordinate immediately went to the secret room where those people were locked up. At the same time, Lung Ruashua sent a voice transmission to her beasts. Charm, if you follow the men in black, you'll be able to find the person they locked up. Lung Ruashua reminded. Her spirit beasts had searched the bottom of the valley for a long time, but they could not find the place where the people who had been captured were kept. Now was a good opportunity. I know, master. The May replied. Then, the few little beasts looked at each other and stayed in place, waiting for the black-clothed man to come to their door. They were now at the main entrance, which was the only path the men in black had to pass. In addition, they were invisible at the moment, so they easily followed behind the men in black. The man in black turned 2 corners and passed through a dark corridor. The May and the other small beasts followed the man in black into an underground secret room. The secret room was very spacious and there were no decorations inside. However, there was a pool in the left corner of the wall. The pool was filled with bright red blood, giving off a strong, bloody smell. In the middle of the pool, there was a red flower that was as bright as fire. The flower had multiple petals and was the size of a millstone. It was in full bloom. Above the pool, there were countless fist-sized spheres. Those spheres were white and transparent, and each sphere contained a person or a beast. At this time, the mental state of those people and beasts were all extremely dispirited. Some were already on the verge of death, with only one breath left. Seeing this scene, the May and the other beasts could not describe the feelings in their hearts. Moreover, there were many beasts trapped in the ball. However, What made them even more troubled was how to release these people or beasts from the ball. At the thought of this, the May and the other beasts' gazes were fixed on the black-clothed man's every move. At this moment, the man in black took out the name list that Lung Ruashua had requested and carefully checked it. Every time he found a person, he would bring down the sphere that person was in. After finding all the people and beasts, the man in black cast a few complicated hand seals. Following that, the sphere disappeared and extremely weak humans and beasts were released from the sphere. "What's the matter? Is it our time to die?" An old-looking man asked. "You're in luck. Someone's here to save you." The man in black shouted. "Really?" The old man was still in doubt, and when the others heard his words, their reactions were calm. Or rather, they didn't believe him at all. "Do you think I would lie to you?" The black-clothed man said unhappily, but he couldn't help but think in his heart, Master really made a good deal. This was because even if these people were given to the other party, they would not be able to live for long. Their life force had long since withered, and the final outcome of them staying here would only be to become food for those monsters. Now, using them to exchange for that amazing spatial artifact was definitely a profit without loss. In the future, they would be able to enjoy the benefits of that house, he thought to himself. "I wonder who's the one who's coming to save us?" The old man asked curiously. They'd been trapped here for a long time and had no hope of getting out. Now that they heard that someone had come to save them, they were even more curious. "A woman with the surname Lung." The man in black said. "The woman with the surname Lung?" The old man carefully recalled. In his memory, he did not seem to know any woman with the surname Lung. Why would she come to save him for no reason? He could not understand. "Thanks, you'll see her in a while. Follow me," the black-clothed man ordered. After he finished speaking, he took the lead and walked out of the secret room. Seeing this, the old man looked at the others who were as confused as him and followed him out. After they had all left, the May looked at the people who were still in the secret chamber and felt hesitant. The remaining people did not have a deep relationship with his master, or it could be said that they had no relationship at all. So, should he save them or not? Should we rescue them? The May transmitted her voice to the other beasts. "Save him. Why not? They're all money." Baby said a little miserly. It should be known that its biggest wish was to earn a lot of money for its cute master, so it would not let go of any opportunity to make money. "Master sent us here to save people. However, we don't know many of these people, so we can't save them for nothing." Ling Chun thought for a moment before speaking in a serious tone. "MMH, good brother. Well said. We have to take risks to save people, so they should pay us." Baby gave Ling an appreciative look. Mai's head was full of black lines as she listened to the conversation between the two guys. If he wanted to earn money, then so be it. It wouldn't stop him, so why make it sound so grand? Then what are we waiting for? Let's discuss the conditions with them first, then let them out. Yao was not in a hurry. It had not shown itself for too long, so it definitely could not let this opportunity go. "You guys go ahead. We'll keep a lookout for you." The May said very self-consciously. It was very self-aware. It knew that its mischievousness could not be compared to these guys, so it was more suitable for it to be on the lookout. Let's go and do something big," Baby said with a bandit-like expression. After saying that, it asked Ling to remove its invisibility and then walk to the side of the pool with small steps. What a strong smell of blood. Baby wrinkled his cute little nose and was a little disgusted. Sigh. A good flower was actually a blood-sucking one. She really didn't learn well. Then it looked up at the top of the pool. The dying man and beast inside had clearly noticed its existence. They still had a trace of clarity, and all of them looked back at it with wide eyes. I'm here to save you. However, he couldn't save her for nothing. You have to pay a corresponding reward before I will let you out. How about it? If you agree, then nod your head. Otherwise, just shake your head. Baby said directly. These people's bodies were really too weak. It was really afraid that they would faint before they finished listening to its words. Then, wouldn't it have worked for nothing? When the humans and beasts in the sphere heard this furry, dark purple cute little fox's words, they all chose to agree, although they still had some doubts on their faces. You're tactful. Baby was very satisfied with their choice. Then, it gave a look to Ling, who was still invisible. Ling understood and jumped into the air. Whoosh! Buzz! Whoosh! After a few flashes of light, those who had agreed to it fell to the ground one after another. Seeing this, they couldn't help but reveal a trace of shock in their eyes because they didn't see the little fox do anything at all. They were saved from midair. This was really incredible. One should know that the ball wasn't so easy to get down. Immediately, they were in awe of the treasure. It seemed that this little fox really had some tricks up her sleeve. Chapter 1751. Crossing the bridge in secret. 4. At this moment, they would never have dreamed that this was a trick played by Bao Bao and the other beasts to intimidate them and gain more bargaining chips for themselves. After seeing them land, Baby walked up to them with a little pride and said, "You've all seen my ability. Now let's talk about my conditions." And the people and beasts in the sphere nodded and looked at the treasure with eager eyes. "Actually, my request is very simple. You just need to pay me a reward equal to your status, and he'll let you out." Baby said with a smile. There was definitely a trap in its words. Who asked it to not know the identity of these people, so it did not dare to casually state a price. Otherwise, if they could not afford it, then wouldn't they have worked for nothing? Moreover, it didn't want to be a creditor. To put it bluntly, it didn't give credit. Among these people or beasts, whoever could pay the money, it would take them away. Otherwise, they could stay here. It did not have any sympathy. When the people or beasts in the sphere heard Treasure's words, they couldn't help but look at each other. Was he asking them to bid for themselves? However, they were penniless now, so how could they afford to pay? Little Fox, to be honest, we don't have a single cent right now. One of the whales in the ball said, "No money? It's fine if you have medicinal herbs and materials of equivalent value. You'll make do with it." Baby thought for a while and said, "That's not it either. All the good things on us were taken away by the men in black when we were caught. So," the whale said with some embarrassment. It did not finish its sentence, but it believed that the smart little fox would understand. "Then what do we do?" Baby was a little dumbfounded. "Woo, it's money-making plan. Was the fetus going to die in the womb, just like this?" "No, it was unwilling. He didn't want to work for free. Why don't we owe him first? Most of us are respected in the divine realm, so we definitely want renege on your debt." The whale promised with a hint of anticipation in its eyes. "I don't buy on credit," Baby said a little gloomily, but in his heart, he was thinking about how to get the good things that the black-clothed man had taken from them into his bag. It seemed that he would have to let Yushuian try it later. If he could find those things, they would all belong to him. However, it didn't have much hope for this because there were many places here that Feather couldn't see through, such as this secret room. "Little Fox, seeing that we're all beastie, please make an exception. Our beastie is the most trustworthy. We definitely won't go back on our word." The whale pleaded. "All right then. Since you've said so, they'll give you face. The beast can write me an IOU, but humans can't." Baby thought for a moment, and then said very seriously, "Humans are the most cunning. Except for Master and the people around Master. It doesn't like any other human. Little Fox, you can't be racist. This is a clear difference in treatment." The human trapped in the sphere immediately became anxious when he heard this. "I have no choice. I'm not a human, and am not familiar with you. If you lie to me, who can I cry to?" Baby clearly didn't believe them. As he said this, his silver eyes revealed a trace of innocence. "Thanks, Little Fox. To tell you the truth, I'm an elder of the Yao family. Our Yao family is one of the 8 great divine regions, and our status is only second to the Ning family. So, don't worry, I won't lie to you. How about I swear on the Yao family's reputation? Just trust me." An old man with a white beard and a haggard face in the ball said patiently, "You're an elder of the Yao family?" Hearing the old man's words, Baby squinted his silver eyes and asked calmly, "MMH, it seems like you've heard of our Yao family, Little Fox. That's great." The Yao family elders said happily. Looking at the slightly excited old man, Baby's heart was filled with 120,000 points of sympathy for him. Of course, it had heard of the Yao family. Speaking of which, The Yao family seemed to have some grudges with them. However, looking at the old man's excitement, it really couldn't bear to discourage him. Sai, who asked it to be a kind-hearted little fox. After thinking about it, the baby spoke again with a cautious expression. Actually, I can't bear to leave you in the lurch. But as you all know, we beasts have never had a good impression of humans. However, seeing that you all are quite pitiful, it'll be kind this time. Little fox, you're a good beast. Thank you. The Yao family elder immediately tried to curry favor with his baby. Wait, don't worry, I'm not done yet. Baby reminded. Then it continued. I can save you, but your reward will be at least twice as much as theirs. Furthermore, you have to swear an oath to your family that if you agree, I will let you out. Otherwise, you can continue to stay here. I agree. The elder of the Yao family thought for a while and said, What about you guys? Baby's beautiful silver eyes were flowing with light as she looked at the others in the sphere and asked, I also agree. The people trapped by the sphere expressed their opinions. Although the people he had saved had agreed to Baby's request, it was still not happy because these people had no money and had to write an IOU for it. Sob, it clearly did not want to be a creditor, but the situation forced it. The depressed Baby stood in front of the ball on the ground and imitated the black-clothed man's method, striking out the magic art in his memory. In an instant, the ball broke into pieces, turned into starlight, and disappeared. Chapter 1752. Preparing for a Rainy Day. 1. As soon as the sphere disappeared, the humans and beasts trapped inside regained their freedom. They slowly got up from the ground and walked in front of the little fox one by one, saying, Little fox, thank you for saving us. Everyone's thanks were sincere, but their gratitude was completely crushed by the treasure. You don't have to be so polite. I didn't save you for nothing. Treasure said disapprovingly. Then he took out a pen and paper from his storage space and handed it to the crowd and the beasts. When everyone saw this, they all understood what the little fox meant. All the beastie present also transformed into human form, took a pen and paper, and wrote down the first IOU in their lives. After keeping the IOU, Baby reminded, Now you can swear an oath. Remember, you must swear on your family's bloodline. What? Everyone was dumbfounded. Didn't he swear on his family? Why did it become an oath on the bloodline of the family? One had to know that these were two completely different kinds of oaths. Most of the time, swearing on the family name involved the family's reputation or status, while swearing on the family's bloodline involved the descendants. He only owed it a little reward, and he wanted them to swear an oath with their family bloodline. This is a bit too much. What? Didn't you hear me clearly? I'm asking you to swear on your family bloodline. Baby asked with a puzzled look. Could it be that its words were difficult to understand? That little fox, we won't go back on our word. So, there's no need to swear on our family bloodline, right? The elder of the Yao family spoke on behalf of the crowd. After all, he was the first one to agree to this. If he didn't do it, he would have offended all the people and beasts present. You've misunderstood me. I asked you to swear on your family's bloodline because I'm afraid you won't be able to pay off the debt you owe me. If you can't pay them back, you'll have to ask the descendants of your respective families to pay them back. That's why I want you to swear on your family bloodline. In this way, they can't deny it even if they want to. Baby explained, I don't have any intention of asking you to curse your own descendants. Baby added, worried. This time, everyone and the beasts understood. However, they were still a little unwilling in their hearts. After all, it involved their own family's descendants, so they had to be careful. Seeing that the crowd and the beasts were silent for a long time, Treasure smiled again. It seems that you want to go back on your word. It doesn't matter. I, a great beast, am magnanimous and won't hold it against you. You can slowly stay here and wait for your death. Little fox, you've misunderstood. We're thinking about how to make the oath. The whale quickly said. He had to calm down this bad-tempered little fox first. Otherwise, if it left, they could only wait for death here. Is there a need to think about this? Baby raised its eyebrows. It didn't believe the whale at all. Of course we have to consider it. It's fine if we swear on our own, but this concerns our future generations, so we have to be careful. The Yao clan elder said with a serious expression. Thanks, old man. You care so much about your descendants, but when you were trapped here, did they come to save you? Baby said with a hint of ridicule. In fact, it was well aware that these old foxes who thought they were cunning were afraid that it would use the oath to threaten their descendants. In fact, I wanted to say, you're thinking too much. In its eyes, their descendants are not worth mentioning at all. However, in order to prevent these old guys from falling out with it, it had no choice but to ask them to swear on their family bloodline. It did not expect them to still be hesitant. If it had known this earlier, it really should not have saved them. The treasure was filled with hatred. They don't know that we're trapped here, and with their strength, they won't be able to come back, even if they come to save us. The Yao clan elder said, somewhat embarrassedly. We already know. How could they not know? Then isn't your Yao clan's information network a little too lacking? The baby sneered at the Yao family elder's words. This old man was clearly finding excuses for his descendants and giving him face. If they were weak, could the Yao family's strength be weaker than theirs? They all dared to come in, but where was the Yao family? The Yao family elder was completely out of power. This little fox really had a sharp tongue. He realized that he couldn't out-talk it. This fact made him a little depressed. What's with Have you guys considered it? He'll give you 5 more minutes. If you're still hesitating after 5 minutes, he'll leave you guys be. Baby made the final announcement. Little fox, we don't know how to say this oath. Why don't you give us an example? The whale said carefully when it saw that its baby was unhappy. You're still the smartest. You can even teach your beast taming. Baby said politely, listen up. So-and-so owe my precious master a reward of double my status. Now, I swear by the bloodline of the family that I will do my best to pay off the debt in my lifetime. If the debt is not paid off in my lifetime, my family's descendants have the obligation and responsibility to carry on this debt until the debt is paid off. Baby cleared his throat and said, by the way, Beastie's pay is double. Don't make a mistake. Baby added, and the whale nodded and helplessly swore. Following that, people began to swear on their bloodlines, and the contract rules continued to descend in the secret chamber. After a long time, after everyone and the beast had finished their vows, Baby smiled in satisfaction and added, I forgot to tell you that my debt has a time limit. You have to pay it off within a month. Otherwise, there will be interest, hee. The interest is a compound interest. Therefore, you must make the best use of your time. The baby's additional explanation made everyone and the beast so angry that they almost vomited blood. What did she mean by forgot to say? This detestable little fox clearly did not want to say it on purpose. Now that they had finished swearing on their bloodline, she told them about this waste of time. This was clearly not giving them a chance to regret. However, now that things had come to this, they really had no room for regret. Moreover, they finally understood why this evil little fox wanted them to swear on their family's bloodline. It turned out that she treated them as a long-term meal ticket. As long as they couldn't pay off their debts on time, they and their descendants would have to run around to pay off their debts in the future. This fact made their joy of being rescued vanish. Seeing their troubles, Baby said in a very understanding manner, actually, you don't have to be so depressed. As long as you pay off your debts within a month, everything will be fine, right? Don't forget, the reward I asked for is equal to your own status. It's only double that of a human S. So, you could do as you see fit. Pay me however much you think you're worth. There's no need to be so embarrassed. I don't mind how much you pay me, really. Chapter 1753. Preparing for a Rainy Day, 2. Baby's words were reasonable, but it was completely not the case in the ears of the people present. Many people could not help but think in their hearts, you didn't say how much we should pay you, but you said you want a reward equal to our status. In other words, they will pay each other however much they think they are worth, and every person or beast here more or less has some reputation in the immortal realm, so they naturally wouldn't do something that would lower their own status. It wouldn't be good if word got out. How would they face others in the future? Therefore, even if it was for the sake of their own face, the price they offered couldn't be too low. Otherwise, he would not have the face to continue living in the divine realm in the future. We don't have any money now. If we can't leave this mystic realm within a month, how are we going to settle this? The Yao family elder asked after some thought. That will count as interest. After all, we are only responsible for bringing you out of this secret chamber. As for whether you can leave this secret realm or not, it is not within our scope of consideration. Baby said matter-of-factly, "Little fox, this won't do. You brought us out of here, so you can't just leave us alone. With our current physical condition, if you don't care about us, it won't be long before we'll be caught again." The whale quickly said in fear, "Yup, you can't just abandon us." The other humans and beasts also chimed in. "What? You're still counting on me to finish the whole pack? Besides, I'm not human." Baby said in an unpleasant tone, "Little fox, you're the kindest and most adorable little fox. You won't leave me in a lurch, right?" The whale coaxed. "You're wrong. Although I'm cute, I'm not kind. I'll definitely not save you if I see you in danger. Besides, don't you know that I saved you for money? So, you don't have to flatter me. I don't buy it." Baby said arrogantly as he turned his head. "However, if you want me to take you out of the mystic realm, you'll have to pay extra. And I can tell you clearly that our escort fee is very expensive." Then, the baby changed the topic and brought up money again. When everyone and the beasts heard Baby's words, they all wiped their sweat. "Fuck, I've never seen a fox that likes money so much. What's wrong with it having eyes for money?" Of course, they would never have dreamed that the baby wanted to accumulate wealth so desperately, all for the sake of its lovely master. Seeing that the people and beasts present were silent again, Baby smiled and said, "Hee, if you want to seek our protection, then write me an IOU and make a bloodline oath. If you can't pay it all off, don't you have your descendants to help you? So, don't feel any pressure and think about it." Baby's words made everyone look at each other and speechless. They really didn't know what to say. This little fox was not just greedy for money. Moreover, they couldn't find any fault in its words, so it made them feel even more depressed. "Little fox, if we accept your escort, can you guarantee that you can bring us out of here safely?" The whale asked again after a while. "This is a must. The escort fee will be paid within a month of your departure. If there is any delay, the interest will also be compounded. However, I will not be responsible for your clothing, food, accommodation, and transportation here. If it is up to me to arrange it, the cost will also be calculated separately." The treasure's silver eyes quickly flashed with a trace of calculation as it explained. This time, Baby's words were very clear, but everyone or the beasts were very depressed when they heard it. However, it was a good thing that their strength was there. They didn't need to eat anything and could just find a place to spend the night. Therefore, they didn't need to trouble the little fox in terms of food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, they thought. "Thanks, little fox. We could take care of our own basic needs." Everyone looked at each other and said in unison, All right then. You only need to pay me 1 million top-grade crystals or medicinal herbs, ores, and materials of the same value, and I promise to bring you out of the secret realm." Baby said with a faint smile, "What, 1 million? You're a robber." When the crowd and beasts heard this number, they were all dumbfounded. "Do you think it's easy to bring you old, weak, sick, and disabled out of the secret realm? In my opinion, this amount of money is too little." Baby raised his cute little head and said with an aggrieved face, "You are trapped in the secret realm, so you should know better than anyone else how dangerous and terrifying this secret realm is. Otherwise, how could you have been captured with your strength? And we're taking a risk by bringing you guys out. So how can we be at peace if we don't ask for more money? Why would we be willing to take you guys with us?" Without giving them a chance to speak, Baby's silver eyes were filled with tears as he argued. Baby's words made everyone speechless once again. They were indeed a burden now. However, as long as they thought of how much money this little fox had asked them for, their hearts ached. Baby saw through their thoughts and said with great sincerity, "Money is just a worldly possession. Do you think a mere 1 million top-grade crystal stones is worth less than your life? If you really value money more than your lives, then I have nothing to say. After all, This is your choice. We'll meet again. I hope that I'll still be able to see your figures in the divine realm in the future. I'll look forward to the day we meet again." After saying that, Baby took small steps and planned to leave. "Wait." Seeing that the treasure was about to leave, the whale quickly said, "Is there anything else?" Baby turned his head and asked, "I'm willing to pay 1,000,000 top-grade crystals, but I don't have that much, so I can only use materials as payment." The whale thought ruthlessly, "This little fox is right. Money is just a worldly possession. What's the use of money if I don't even have my life?" Therefore, he was the first to think things through. He could not be with those anthropology checks that like to take advantage of small gains, or he would suffer a big loss. "No problem. I don't care what you offer as a mortgage. As long as it's of the same value, they'll take it," Baby said with a smile, obviously very satisfied with this whale's way of doing things. Moreover, this fish was the first one to take the bait when it was playing hard to get, so it deserved its special treatment. "You're the first customer to ask us to escort you, so I should give you some benefits. They'll pay for all your food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation, so I won't ask you for extra money." Baby thought for a while and continued. "Thank you," he said. The whale was speechless. It didn't think that it needed to be provided with food, clothing, and accommodation. However, when it saw the food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation, it realized how wise its decision was. Baby saw the whale's disapproving look and didn't explain much. Instead, he turned his eyes to the others. Chapter 1754, Preparing for a Rainy Day 3. "If you don't need our escort, then let's part ways. I wish you all good luck," Treasure said straightforwardly, but there was a faint anger in its heart. These guys won't shed tears until they see their coffins. It should really let those black-clothed men feed them all to the fish. It thought in its heart. "I request your escort," a rather petite man said in a low voice. He was also a beastie, and his home was in the endless sea. He wanted to return home safely, so he needed their help. "No problem," he said. Baby nodded in satisfaction. "Very good, another one has taken a bait." Soon after, another beast requested for the escort of the treasure. Just like that, all the beasts present agreed to the sky-high escort fee, while no one from the human side had agreed to it yet. Seeing this, Bao Bao didn't bother to ask for their opinions. He led the beasts who wanted to be escorted out of the secret room. When the Yao family elders and the others saw this, they immediately became anxious. Their bodies were extremely weak, and if no one protected them, their lives would be in danger. None of them wanted to die. "Little fox, wait a minute, let's have a good discussion." The Yao family elder, who had received everyone's gazes, hurriedly said, "What's there to discuss? Since your lives aren't as important as money, I can only leave you to your own devices." Baby said without the slightest bit of sympathy. "Little fox, it's not that we don't want to spend money, but your fees are too high. We can't afford it." The Yao family elder said with a pained expression. "What a joke. If these orcs can afford it, why can't you elders of large clans? If you want to deduct money, just deduct it. Don't find excuses for yourself, okay? Otherwise, they'll look down on you." Baby said, "It is. They just can't bear to part with money. Little fox, don't care about their life or death. Humans and our beast race are not the same." The whale said, adding insult to injury. Of course, he said this to please the baby, who asked this little fox to be his life-saving talisman now. That's right. All the beasts agreed. After their lives were guaranteed, they were naturally incompatible with humans. Therefore, they all added insult to injury. "Little fox, these humans were rich. If you charge us 1,000,000 top-grade crystals, I think we can raise the price a bit if we charge them. They can afford it." A beastie suggested considerately. He was also playing into the little fox's favor. "That's a good idea. Then we'll take them in." Bao Bei smiled evilly and was about to say a new number. When the Yao family elders and the others saw this, they glared at Beastie, who had come up with this bad idea. Then they smiled kindly at Bao Bei and said, 1,000,000 top-grade crystals, we agree. It's a deal. You're a good fox, so you can't just set a price on the spot." "All right, then." Baby deliberately put on a reluctant look, but in his heart, he was already laughing. Hee hee. No matter how cunning these humans were, how could they scheme against a fox? Then, Baby arranged for them to write a new IOU. Of course, they had to make a bloodline oath as well. After all, these two were different names. After everything was settled, Ling appeared and cast an invisibility spell on everyone and the beasts. Then, everyone left the secret room together. Before they left, Baby also took away those who were unconscious in the sphere. These were all potential customers. He couldn't let them go either. As soon as they left the secret room, Baby ran to the Yao family elder and whispered a few words to him. Instantly, the Yao family elder's face turned ugly, but he couldn't resist the temptation and finally nodded with a black face. Then, the man and beast sneakily returned to the secret room. The May led a few small beasts and the large crowd behind her. They went around the black-robed men outside the valley and stood behind Lung Ruoxue and the others. After leaving the valley and not being discovered by the black-robed men, everyone and the beasts immediately felt relieved. It seemed that the money they had spent was worth it. This invisibility technique was also very useful. No one actually sensed their existence. This time, their little lives were finally saved, and their hearts that had been hanging in the air all this time were finally put at ease. Not long after, Baby with a wicked smile and the Yao family elder also returned to the group. Thanks, treasure. Where did you go this time? May couldn't help but ask curiously. Hee. I've left some mementos for the flower. I believe it will never forget it. Baby's smile was very evil. It knew that there was something strange with that flower, so how could it be left there unscathed? That was not his baby's character. What did you do? The May asked uneasily. I didn't do anything. I just added something to the blood pool. Baby said in a mysterious manner. What did you add? Mei Xiaojin asked. I added some human urine. Baby said with a smile. It can't be that Yao family elder's urine, right? Mai's forehead was filled with black lines. Hee. Congratulations, you got it right. Baby said with a slight pride. How could that old man agree to your request? The May said with some admiration. Hee. I promised to charge him 100,000 top-grade crystals less, so he agreed. Baby explained. You're amazing. The May was full of admiration for the baby. No big deal. Actually, I have another reason for looking for this old man. Baby said, deliberately mystified. What's the purpose? Mai's eyes widened as she shamelessly asked. He's from the Yao family. In the future, if there's any sign of trouble in the Yao family, we can go and ask him. He'll definitely tell us everything he knows, Baby said confidently. Nothing you don't know? Would he be so obedient to tell us about the Yao family? The May was suspicious of her baby's overconfident words. He can choose not to tell us. However, if he doesn't tell us, he'll make the matter of him peeing in the blood pool public. They'll see if he still has the face to continue living in the divine realm in the future. Furthermore, if the black-clothed men here know about this matter, they will definitely not let him off. Baby said with a scheming look. You're ruthless. May wiped the cold sweat from her forehead, feeling sympathy for the Yao family elder. Poor old man. You still don't know what you've gotten yourself into. Colluding with Baby would only result in him being schemed against until nothing was left. I'm just preparing for a rainy day, Baby said with a faint smile. Then, he jumped into Lung Ruoxue's arms and kept rubbing against her. While he was invisible, he wanted to take advantage of his cute master's tender tofu. After all, such opportunities were rare. Lung Ruoxue felt the movement in her arms and sighed helplessly. Then, her beautiful eyes turned towards the middle-aged man. Previously, she had already made a deal with the middle-aged man. However, less than 300 people had been handed over to her, and none of them were the ones she was most familiar with. However, Lung Ruoxue was relieved. As long as her godfather did not fall into the hands of these men in black, it was fine. Otherwise, she was really afraid that her godfather, the great elder, and the rest would end up like these people, being tortured beyond recognition and becoming thin to the bone. Chapter 1755, Preparing for a Rainy Day 4. When will you leave the rest of the people to me? Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. As soon as I find them, he'll immediately hand them over to you. The middle-aged man said, "That's good. He'll be waiting for your good news, but don't let me find them first. Otherwise, our deal can't be completed." Lung Ruoxue reminded, "If the transaction could not be completed, it would naturally mean that the transaction had failed. This is my territory. You can't find them before me." The middle-aged man said confidently, "Good luck then," Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. After she finished speaking, she led everyone back to the house, and the middle-aged man also returned to the valley with his subordinates. As for the pitiful Chang Xian, she was completely ignored by both sides. The unconscious Chang Xian lay on the cold ground with no one caring about her. After entering the house, the old man and the rest immediately gave Lung Ruoxue a deep bow to thank her for saving their lives. However, at the same time, they were certain that they did not know this human lady. "You old dolphin, I didn't think that there would be a day when you would be in such a sorry state," Uncle Long said to the old man. It was obvious that he was very familiar with this man. However, the old man did not recognize Uncle Long. He only felt that this person's aura was somewhat familiar, but he could not remember where he had seen this person before. "You are..." The old man was a little suspicious, and there was a trace of confusion in his eyes. "I'm your Uncle Long," Uncle Long said loudly. "Arg, Uncle Long, it's actually you, old man." The old man was suddenly enlightened. No wonder he felt that this person was somewhat familiar. It turned out to be that person. As for the beasts of the endless ocean, after hearing the two words Uncle Long, they immediately became excited, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. This person was too famous in the endless sea. He was a godlike existence. He was also their idol. However, Uncle Long had always lived in seclusion and rarely came into contact with the beasts of the endless ocean. Therefore, most of them had only heard of his name and had never seen him in person. Therefore, it was actually the first time for many of the beasts to see Uncle Long's true appearance, and this fact made them even more excited. Uncle Long. In the blink of an eye, Uncle Long was surrounded by the sea beasts that had transformed into humans. "Thanks, what did I tell you? Didn't I tell you not to come here?" However, none of you were willing to listen. Now, if it wasn't for the little girl who saved you, I'm afraid I wouldn't even be able to see your corpses. Compared to the beast's enthusiasm, Uncle Dragon's expression was rather cold. Furthermore, the first thing he said was to reprimand them. However, none of the beasts dared to refute his words. "Uncle Long, we know we were wrong." The old man lowered his head and said with some shame, "It's too late for you to realize your mistakes. Your life force is almost exhausted. All on your own." Uncle Long sighed and said helplessly, "To cultivators, although their cultivation was important, their life force was their foundation." However, it was clear that these people in front of him had their life force taken away by someone else. This was even more despicable than destroying their cultivation. This kind of behavior was absolutely forbidden in the divine world. Therefore, Uncle Long could not think of anyone who had the guts to do such a thing in the divine world. Was he not afraid of being punished by the heavens? "Little girl, thank you for saving them." Uncle Long shifted his gaze to Lung Ruoxue. "Uncle Long, you're too polite." Lung Ruoxue smiled. With a thought, a blue mini dolphin appeared in front of everyone. "Ancestor." As soon as the little dolphin appeared, it immediately pounced toward the old man. "Little Chi, what are you doing here?" The old man looked at the little dolphin in his arms and said in surprise, "I came in with my master." The little dolphin said honestly, "Master? You've recognized a human as your master?" The old man said in disbelief. Their dolphin race had always been proud. Since ancient times, it was rare for them to acknowledge a human as their master. He did not expect that after not seeing each other for a long time, his most beloved junior would actually find a master. This could not help but surprise him. "Its master is the little girl who saved you," Uncle Long added. "Oh, little girl, thank you for saving us." The old man thanked him again. Since things had come to this, there was no point in saying more. "You're welcome. The little dolphin is my beastie. Naturally, I want you to stand by and watch its family fall into the hands of those black-clothed men." Lung Ruoxue answered honestly. Thank you for saving my life, miss. At this moment, the other sea beasts once again expressed their gratitude to Lung Ruoxue. After they finished speaking, Baby immediately revealed itself and brought the person it brought out to Lung Ruoxue. With a pale face, it said, "Cute master, we've also brought back the people who weren't on the list. However, I've accepted their payment, Baby. This is their IOU. In addition, they've also made a bloodline oath, so don't worry, master. They won't dare to renege on their debt." After saying that, Baby handed the IOU to Lung Ruoxue. "You're so capable, Baby." Lung Ruoxue looked at the thick stack of IOUs in her hands, her forehead full of black lines. What could she say? In fact, she had sent her beastie to the bottom of the valley just to let them sneak some people out from there. But they had taken the liberty to charge a fee. Not bad. As expected of her beastie, it had her style. Chapter 1756, Treasure Hunt 1. Lung Ruoxue was a person who pampered her magical beast. Therefore, no matter what outrageous things her magical beast had done, it was good. She could clearly see that when her precious beast took out those IOUs and explained the matter to her, some people's faces immediately turned ugly. However, these people did not have much to do with her, so she did not care about their feelings. As long as her magical beast was happy, that was all that mattered. "My lovely master, my baby can also earn money for you." Baby blinked his silver eyes as tears welled up in his eyes, and he sighed. And Lung Ruoxue picked up Baby's fluffy little body and caressed its fur. Baby closed its eyes in enjoyment, causing the other beasts to be extremely jealous. "Master, without me, there's no way they'll be able to get out of there." Ling Shi pouted and reminded him unhappily. It was also a hero. How'd he get cast aside? "Master, there's still me. I've also contributed." The referee also warned in an extremely dissatisfied manner. Good, good. You all did well." Lung Ruoxue coaxed them one by one. She was amused. Under such a serious situation, these little beasts actually got jealous. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Ha ha, little girl, with these little fellows, your life must be very lively." Uncle Long, who was watching from the side, couldn't help but laugh. "Yup." Lung Ruoxue nodded helplessly. "Arg, I've forgotten something very important." Suddenly, the baby cried out without caring about his image. Lung Ruoxue was astonished. What was wrong with her baby? "Why are you so surprised?" "Master," Baby called out softly and then whispered into Lung Ruoxue's ear. Lung Ruoxue's expression turned odd after she heard that. "Uncle Long, they'll have to trouble you to accompany them," Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. Earlier on, Baby actually told her that it had forgotten to search for the treasures in the valley and wanted to go back to look for them. Now that the men in black had returned to the bottom of the valley, how could she let it go back at ease? Although they could turn invisible, she was still worried. Therefore, she could only trouble Uncle Long, a senior with unfathomable strength, to help. All right, even though Uncle Long did not know where this little girl wanted him to go with her beastie, he would not reject her request, since Lung Ruoxue had saved so many of the beasties' lives in the endless sea. "Ling Yu, let's go." Baby called for two of the most important beastie in this operation, then jumped on Uncle Long's body and left the house invisibly. Upon entering the valley, Uncle Long couldn't help but ask curiously, "Little guys, you just came out of there safely. Why did you go in again?" Uncle Long was very puzzled. No wonder the little girl asked him to come along. These little guys really made him feel uneasy. "Uncle Long, to be honest, we're here for the good treasures in this valley. I heard that these men in black were quite rich, so we decided to rob the rich to help the poor and kill them all," Baby said with a smile, his little face full of pride. "This is a good idea. However, do you know the location of the treasure?" Uncle Long asked calmly. You should have guessed that the little girl's beastie was different, and now it seemed that it was true. "Thanks, we don't know," Baby said with a silly smile. You dare to come in without knowing?" Uncle Long was dumbfounded for a moment after hearing Baby's words. In fact, what he wanted to say was, "Why are you still so happy?" Those who didn't understand the situation would think that it had found a good treasure. Hee hee, I have to explore it, Baby said matter-of-factly. Uncle Long couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead. Now he was even more certain that the little girl had made the right decision to let him accompany her in. Otherwise, this hot-headed little fox might have ruined things. Treasure. The men in black have already returned to the valley, and their leader's strength is on par with mine. So, even if we are invisible, we have to be careful, understand? After being stunned for a while, Uncle Long spoke earnestly. Otherwise, he was really worried that this cute little fox who liked to run around would cause trouble for him. If he couldn't bring these three little fellows back safely, how could he face Lung Ruokshu's request? Therefore, he had to keep a close eye on them. MMH. Uncle Long, don't worry. The feather can see through things. We will only enter the place it can see. No. We'll only enter places where it can see treasures. We want to enter places where it can't see through. The treasure reassured Uncle Long, but the cautious Uncle Long still didn't dare to let his guard down. Uncle Long followed behind the three little beasts, keeping only a few steps away from them. His eyes were also very vigilant of his surroundings. It was a pity that his divine sense couldn't be used here, otherwise he would have known the situation further away. How is it? Did you find it? After searching for a while, Treasure asked impatiently. Not yet. Feather's eyes glowed with a dim light as she stared at each door for a while. Then, she shook her head and walked to the next room. There were at least 800 to 1,000 rooms in the valley. Therefore, after looking through all the rooms one by one, you could not take it anymore. His eyes started to ripple. You quickly crouched down to rest. The black feathers on his body were already drenched in cold sweat. Seeing this, Baby walked to its side with a worried look. How are you? If you're too tired, we can go back. The baby was very considerate. Although it wanted to steal the good treasures in the valley, its companion's health was more important. If it tired you out while looking for treasures, it would feel guilty. I'm fine. He'll be fine after a short rest. He raised his head and said softly. In fact, the reason why he was working so hard was because he was eager to find a treasure to give to his master. Then have a good rest. Quickly eat this. Baby took out a divine power replenishing pill and handed it to you. I have one too. You can keep it for yourself. You declined politely. As a beastie's master, the thing he didn't lack the most was pills. After he finished speaking, he took out his own pill and ate one. Immediately, his complexion became much better. Uncle Long looked at the two little beasts in surprise as they casually took out pills to replenish their divine power. The spiritual chi flowing on the pills gave off a faint glow. With one look, one could tell that they were no ordinary pills. He immediately felt a little depressed. They were both beasts, but why was it that his life was so bitter, while these two little beasts could casually take out such good pills? He was a little jealous. However, if he knew that Lung Ruokshu's beastie was simply eating these divine pills as snacks, he would probably be so depressed that he would vomit blood. Chapter 1757, Treasure Hunt 2. This pill is so high grade. Uncle Long exclaimed. Actually, he wanted to ask them where they got the pills, but he was too embarrassed to ask. Of course, it's made by my lovely master. How could it be ordinary? Baby said with a smug look. After he finished speaking, he ate the pill in his hand into his stomach as if it was a matter of course. He had already taken it out, so he couldn't put it back. The little girl made this? Uncle Long was a little surprised by this answer. However, what he couldn't accept even more was that the treasure had directly eaten the pill that he had taken out. This was really a waste of God's gift. That little fox was fine. So how could it directly eat such a good quality pill? One must know that during the battle between the two sides, any one of those pills was enough to change the outcome of the battle and determine the winner. But now, it was eaten by a lively little fox. Was there a situation more wasteful than this? Uncle Long almost went crazy. MMH, the pills my lovely master concocted are delicious, sweet, and fragrant, making us love them more than we can let go. When we're free, we'll eat some to satisfy our appetite. The treasure was white again, and Uncle Long's face was full of tears. Woo! Uncle Long couldn't be jealous anymore. It seemed like comparing Beast to Beast would really anger Beast to death. Why was he living such a good life? Not only did he eat and drink well every day, but he also ate supreme-grade medicinal pills as if they were rice. He could no longer describe what he was feeling right now. He only knew that he had been dealt a huge blow. After a moment of silent contemplation, Uncle Long made a very difficult decision. He decided to cling onto Lung Ruashue, this thick and strong leg. He didn't ask for the same treatment as the little girl's beastie, as long as enough food was prepared for him every day. Recently, he had been fascinated by those delicious foods and didn't dare to imagine how he would live without those foods. After spending so much time with the little girl and the others, he did not dare to imagine how he would feel if he returned to that uninhabited oceanic trench. Sob, it was so painful. Uncle Long stood beside you and was remorseful. You, who had already rested, flew up into the air in high spirits. Then, he began to search room by room. After searching for a long time, they searched the houses in the valley like a carpet, but found nothing. Suddenly, Baby became a little depressed. How could this be? Could it be that those black-clothed men have moved the treasure away? Baby frowned and said unhappily, "Treasure, calm down. This valley isn't small, and we haven't finished looking. Don't be disheartened." You consoled. That's true. When Baby heard this, he immediately became energetic again. He looked at you with stars in his eyes and said, "You. Why don't we go to that middle-aged man's place and take a look? Maybe that miser has brought all the good treasures with him." The baby looked at them expectantly, but Uncle Long objected. "No, it's too dangerous there. If he finds us, we'll be in trouble." "Uncle Long, we'll be careful and not let him find out. You forgot that we are invisible." Baby persuaded, but in his heart he was thinking, sigh. He was a person with a high cultivation. She just liked to be careful, unlike them, who like to mess around and let go. "Treasure, that guy is a reverend god. Even if he can't see you, you'll still be in danger if he discovers an unfamiliar aura. So, I can't let you take this risk. Otherwise, if something happens to you, I won't be able to explain it to the little girl." Uncle Long said honestly, "Then we'll just watch from the outside, right? We're not going in." Baby bargained. "Thanks, all right then. However, you have to listen to me when we get there." Uncle Long knew that the little fox was a little stubborn, so he took a step back. "Yes, yes." The three little beasts nodded their heads vigorously, extremely obedient. Uncle Long smiled helplessly at their cuteness. Then, he carried them in his arms and walked into a dark passage. That passage just happened to lead to where the middle-aged man was. This was also what he had heard from the black-clothed men. Therefore, it was not difficult for him to find where the middle-aged man was. "Conceal your auras. Don't let him detect you," Uncle Long reminded them as they approached the entrance of the palace. "And, yes," the three little beasts replied, and quietly lay in Uncle Long's arms. Uncle Long approached the entrance of the hall and pricked up his ears to listen to the movements inside. At the same time, he sighed. He didn't expect that he would have a day where he could eavesdrop. At this moment, in the palace where the middle-aged man was, he was sitting on the throne with a gloomy face. Below him were many black-clothed men kneeling. All of them had their heads lowered and their bodies were trembling. Bang! A divine power as thick as a baby's arm shot out from the middle-aged man's palm. The pillar in the hall shattered into two, and the fear in the black-clothed man's heart deepened. "Master, please calm your anger," the men in black said hurriedly. "Calm your anger? How do you expect me to calm down? Everyone in the secret chamber has disappeared, and you've found nothing, not a single clue. Oomph. If you're so useless, what's the point of keeping you?" The middle-aged man's face was black as he said angrily. Initially, he was quite happy that he had reached an agreement with Lung Ruashue. However, who knew that not long after he returned to the valley, his subordinates would report that the humans and beasts locked in the secret chamber had all disappeared. This haggardness immediately caused his expression to change. After all, this was not a small matter. If his lord found out about this, they would all be punished, and their lord's anger was definitely not something they could bear. Even if he was a reverent god, as long as he thought of his lord's means, he would feel afraid. The middle-aged man's reprimand rendered the men in black kneeling before him speechless, because they really couldn't find any clues. However, it was a good thing that the flower in the blood pool was safe and sound. Otherwise, they would probably be beheaded now. Master, those rascals who sneaked into the valley and rescued the materials we locked up in the secret room were indeed very mysterious and impossible to guard against. Moreover, this subordinate investigated very carefully, and there were no signs of human destruction in the secret room. So this subordinate concluded that they walked into the secret room openly. A black-clothed man who was closest to the middle-aged man said, because he was usually highly regarded by his master, he was the only one who dared to say such a thing at this time. However, when he said this, the guard's face turned ashen, because it meant that the guard had seriously failed in his duty. You're saying that there's a traitor? The middle-aged man said indifferently, Master, this subordinate is innocent. As soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, the man in black who was guarding the secret room immediately cried out, Master, no one dared to betray him. What I mean is that the other party might have some secret technique to enter the secret room without being discovered. The black-clothed man guessed and looked at the black-clothed man guarding the secret room without a sound. At this time, they were all like grasshoppers on a vine. If one person made a mistake, everyone would be implicated. Therefore, it was not a wise choice to push out a scapegoat. Therefore, the most important thing now was to get rid of the suspicion of their dereliction of duty, not to hit them when they were down. Chapter 1758, Treasure Hunt 3, right? It definitely was. Otherwise, it's impossible that we didn't feel anything at all. Master is wise. We've never left the door of the secret chamber. If an outsider really did enter the secret chamber, we'll definitely be able to sense it. The black-clothed man guarding the secret room quickly said, and cast a grateful glance at the black-clothed man from before. He had thought that the man was trying to hit him when he was down. It seemed that he had misunderstood. Then who do you think has the ability to bring away those dying people and beasts in the divine realm without anyone knowing? The middle-aged man said with a headache. He knew that his subordinates were telling the truth, but the anger in his heart was stuck in his chest, and he had no way to vent it. This made him more and more frustrated. It's possible that some reclusive, reverent god came to save them. A man in black said in a low voice, A hidden reverent god? Who would have such an ability? The middle-aged man furrowed his brows as he pondered. Actually, after the theft, the first person he suspected was that damned woman. However, he then recalled that Lung Ruashua was waiting outside the valley to make a deal with him and had no time to commit a crime. Moreover, with her strength, it was impossible for her to sneak into the valley and rescue those people without anyone noticing. Hence, after some thought, he ruled out Lung Ruashua as a suspect. But who else could it be if not Lung Ruashua? He couldn't think of this person even after cracking his head. Could it be one of those family heads? The man in black thought for a moment. Other than them, he didn't think there was anyone else who had that kind of strength. However, it didn't seem possible for those family heads to rescue her without anyone knowing, unless they had some unknown means. Go and contact our hidden chess piece and ask him to quickly tell us their location. The middle-aged man ordered his subordinates. Master, didn't his lord order that the hidden chess piece cannot be touched? The man in black looked at his master with some worry. He was afraid that his master would expose the existence of the hidden chess piece, which would anger his master. At that time, they would also be in trouble. This was the so-called one for all. One had to know that their fates were closely related to their master. We're in a critical period right now, so we can't care so much. However, be careful when you contact him. Don't let it be exposed. The middle-aged man was worried. The hidden chess piece was planted by his master. At this time, he was following the old men. Originally, he had no excuse to contact the hidden chess piece and ask him for their specific location. However, After this incident, he had a good excuse to find out their location from the hidden chess piece. In this way, he could find the people that the little girl wanted. This was really killing two birds with one stone. As soon as he thought of the people who had gone missing in the secret chamber, his mood would sink again. In addition, when you ask him if that hidden chess piece has any dissatisfaction, don't forget to remind him that he's also one of the people in charge of this secret realm. Now that such a thing has happened, he can't escape the blame. There's no need to say anything else. He'll understand. The middle-aged man added, "Yes." The man in black received the order and immediately turned to leave this place of trouble. After he left, the middle-aged man's face became serious again, and his mind wandered without a word. The other men in black kneeled on the ground, not daring to move. Suddenly, the earth trembled and the entire hall shook. Seeing this, the middle-aged man stood up from his throne and loudly ordered, "Go and see what happened. Is there anyone attacking?" "Yes." The man in black, who was kneeling on the ground, quickly ran out after receiving the order. Not long after, the man in black who had left ran back in a panic. "Master, something big had happened. The blood cherry blossoms in the secret chamber are enraged." The man in black shouted, "What? How did this happen?" The middle-aged man's face turned pale. This was no small matter. This meant that, "Quickly go and take a look." The middle-aged man didn't dare to waste a single moment. After he finished speaking, he took the lead and ran out of the hall. The black-clothed men followed closely behind. In the blink of an eye, the entire hall was empty. After they left, Treasure and the other beasts swaggered in. "You, see if there's anything unusual here," Baby said excitedly. This was the middle-aged man's old nest. It had a walk-around, and you nodded. Then he started to search seriously. After a round of inspection, you did not find anything unusual in the hall. At this moment, a small door in the corner of the hall that was half the height of a man caught his attention. However, the door was foggy and he could not see anything clearly. "What's wrong with you?" Baby could feel that something was wrong with you and couldn't help but ask. "There seems to be something behind that door. Should we go in and take a look?" You suggested. "All right." The depressed baby quickly responded. Thanks, the three little beasts had just taken a step forward when they were stopped by Uncle Long. "No one is allowed to go. I can't even see anything there. What if there's danger?" Uncle Long said cautiously. He couldn't let these three little things take the risk. Not even a single hair. "Uncle Long, although I can't see what's there, my instinct tells me that there's something strange there. So I think we should go in and take a look." You explained. In fact, he wanted to say that his intuition told him that there was no danger there. However, that would mean that Uncle Long would not allow them to go. "Uncle Long, if you don't enter the tiger's lair, you won't get the tiger's child. Since the men in black are not here, let's take this opportunity to go in and take a look. It's a rare opportunity." Baby advised. "MMH, this is a good opportunity." You and Ling also looked at Uncle Long with anticipation. "AI, all right then. However, you're not allowed to run around. Otherwise, if you're really in danger and I can't save you in time, I won't be able to explain it to the little girl." Uncle Long said helplessly. "We promise not to run around." Baby was the first to promise. Then, he immediately rushed into the small door. Uncle Long quickly caught the slippery treasure, looked at it seriously, and said, "He'll go in first." He would go in first. If there was any danger, he could help the three little fellows block it. "All right," Treasure said in a low voice, a little depressed. Woo! In front of Uncle Long, it was useless. Uncle Long rubbed Baby's fur and walked through the small door with a chuckle. The three little beasts followed closely behind. The moment they entered, they were stunned. After that, she couldn't help but rub her eyes. It wasn't an illusion. The item was still there. "Wah! Enrich!" The baby cried out excitedly and directly jumped onto the top-grade crystal stones that were piled up in the center of the ground like a small mountain. The crystals were colorful and had all kinds of attributes. Uncle Long estimated that there were at least tens of thousands of them. Then, he turned his eyes to the other parts of the house. The room they were in wasn't very big, only 10 square meters in size. In addition to the top-quality crystals of various attributes that were randomly piled up like a small mountain in the center of the ground, there were 4 shelves around the room. The shelves were filled with dense storage rings. Uncle Long picked one up and scanned it with his divine sense. His eyes widened instantly. Then he picked up the storage rings on the shelves and checked them one by one. At the end, he didn't even know how to describe his feelings. This was because every item in this storage ring was worth more than the pile of top-grade crystals on the ground. Many of them were legendary and rare items that had long gone extinct. Even he, who thought he had seen a lot of things, was shocked speechless. If it wasn't for his strong self-control, he would have lost his normal state. However, when he saw the 3 little beasts jumping around on the pile of top-grade crystals in the center of the ground, the corner of his mouth twitched uncontrollably. Clearly, in the eyes of these 3 little fellows, the shiny top-grade crystals attracted their attention more. Uncle Long, so many top-grade crystals. We're going to be rich this time. Baby felt Uncle Long's gaze and said happily, "Treasure. These top-grade crystals are the least valuable of all the treasures here." Uncle Long's mouth twitched as he spoke the truth. "Oh, then Master will definitely be happy, but I like these crystals more." The treasure was obviously only interested in these shiny stones, and the other things were not of much use to it. The little girl knows how to concoct pills, so she'll definitely be happy to see those things. Uncle Long agreed. Right. Only when Master refines them into pills will they be of use to us. Baby nodded. Then it kept waving its little claws and swept all the storage rings on the shelf into its own storage space. Yu and Ling saw this and also helped. After clearing the small room, the 3 proud little beasts obediently followed Uncle Long and left the hall. "Now that your wish has been fulfilled, can we leave this valley?" Uncle Long asked immediately after they left the main hall. What he wanted to do now was to return the 3 little fellows with the huge treasure to Lung Ruoxiue so that he would not have to worry about them. However, while wishes were beautiful, reality was incomparably cruel. Chapter 1759, Blood Cherry Blossom 1. After hearing Uncle Long's words, Baby said with a conflicted expression, "Uncle Long, I want to see that flower." "Why are you looking at that flower?" "We should quickly go back and tell the little girl what we've heard so that she could take early precautions," Uncle Long said with a serious expression. The news he had overheard outside the main hall had shocked and angered him. He had never thought that the other party would have planted a spy around the people who had entered the secret realm. If that was the case, the people who had been tricked into the secret realm would be in even more danger. As a result, he had to tell this news to the little girl as soon as possible, before things got to a point where they could no longer turn back. The last time I left, I asked the Yao family's elder to pee in the blood pool where the flower is growing, so I suspect that the flower's rage is related to this. Therefore, I wanted to go and find out some news and watch the show at the same time. Baby said softly. As soon as it said this, Uncle Dragon, Yu, and Ling Quan could not help but stare at it with their eyes wide open. "Don't look at me like that. They'll be shy." Baby blinked his watery silver eyes and said with some embarrassment, "Treasure. Since that's the case, let's go take a look. You guys lead the way." After hearing what the baby had to say, Uncle Long finally came back to his senses. His face was filled with helplessness. Furthermore, he looked at the baby with a gaze full of surprise and disbelief. He really couldn't think of how this seemingly cute little fox could have so many unexpected and devilish ideas. This really made him. I knew Uncle Long was the best," Baby said with a fawning look. "Treasure, to think that we're still comrades. You did such a thing, and you didn't even tell us anything. You're really not a good friend." At this moment, Ling pouted his lips and spoke out in dissatisfaction. "I didn't have time to tell you. After all, there were a group of outsiders present at that time. If they had heard it and word of it spread, how would I be able to survive in the divine realm in the future?" Baby said in a slightly aggrieved tone, her beautiful silver eyes peeking at Ling Hiyu from time to time. "Baby's words are right, Ling. You don't have to be so calculative. Peacemaker, you advised. You're too easy to talk to." Ling glared at you and said with some dissatisfaction, "What else can I do? You could still beat it up." You said helplessly. Ling didn't say anything else, but it still stared at the disloyal baby in its eyes. "Ha ha, it's done. Why are the three of you fighting among yourselves? Didn't you want to see that flower? Let's go." Seeing that the three little beasts were actually bickering, Uncle Long was suddenly in a good mood. It's good to be young. He was always so energetic. It's more important to get down to business. The three little beasts' attention was diverted, and they hurriedly nodded. Then, they brought Uncle Long to the secret room. As soon as they entered the secret room, they saw the middle-aged man leading the black-clothed men to kneel before the bright red blood cherry blossom. The flower was shaking its branches emotionally, and the large petals on the flower head were also shaking, in danger of falling at any moment. The three little beasts were confused. They didn't know why the men in black knelt down to a flower. Their faces were pale, as if they were terrified. However, the experienced Uncle Long understood. "Damn it, is this how you guys do things?" A human face could be vaguely seen on the large flower pot. Although the facial features could not be clearly seen, the enchanting voice was enough to tell that the speaker was a woman. The voice seemed to have a hint of charm, so when she spoke, the black-clothed men immediately flushed red, as if they were suffering great pain. "Thanks, please forgive me, my lord," all the men in black said in unison as they endured the indescribable pain. "That flower is their master?" When Baby heard this, he could not help but widen his eyes as he whispered in disbelief. "It seems so," you replied seriously. "If I'm not wrong, this flower is only a clone, not the main body," Uncle Long said with a serious face. He knew that there was something strange about the flower the moment he saw it, so he took a closer look at it. The main purpose of this flower was probably to absorb more energy for its owner. However, it was only a clone, and it almost sucked all the powerful beings they had captured dry. From this, it could be seen how powerful and evil the owner was. Not the main body? Then wouldn't that old man of the Yao family have peed in vain? Baby said disappointedly. It had thought that it could add some nutrients to the flower. Now it seemed like he had worked for nothing. Why is there white urine? Uncle Long didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he patted Baby's little head and said, "This flower is mainly for sucking blood, but you added something else into the blood pool. Do you think the blood pool can still be pure? If I'm not wrong, this flower really flew into a rage because of your masterpiece." "Really? Hee hee. It seems that my efforts were not in vain." After hearing Uncle Long's words, Baby proudly raised his little head and said, "Why would I do it for nothing? The effect seems pretty good." The only pity was that this flower was only a clone. If it was the original body, it would be impossible for the treasure to add anything to the blood pool. "That's good." Uncle Long's praise made Baby's proud tail almost raise up. At this moment, the flower spoke again. "Forgive? You've ruined my big plan. You're clearly unforgivable, yet you still want me to let you go." As the flower spoke, it shook its branches excitedly to show its anger. Following that, countless feelers emerged from the flower. The feelers were long and thin, and there was a suction cup on the head of the feelers. The surface of the feelers was filled with sharp, teeth-like thorns. When the men in black saw the suction cups, they immediately froze as if they had fallen into hell. Their eyes were wide open with fear. In an instant, the tentacle pierced into the bodies of the men in black. In the blink of an eye, the men in black fell to the ground one by one. At this time, they were already old and wrinkled, only a layer of skin and bones left. The three little beasts almost vomited. This was really too disgusting. The person who was still alive, just now, was sucked dry by the flower in the blink of an eye. This flower was simply comparable to a man-eating flower. It was wrong. It was even more powerful than a man-eating flower, because the man-eating flower didn't have its speed. After sucking all the men in black dry, the blood cherry blossom waved its feelers in front of the middle-aged man, but it did not attack him. "Go and find out who added something unclean to the blood pool. After catching him, bring him to me. I want to deal with him myself. As for you, seeing that you're still useful, I'll spare you this time." If there's a next time, you'll end up like them. Blood Cherry Blossom warned without the slightest hint of emotion. Chapter 1760, Blood Cherry Blossom 2. Thank you for not killing me, my lord. The middle-aged man quickly cowed out. In fact, he was quite aggrieved. A dignified hierarch was like a grandson in front of a flower, submissive and obedient. This made him feel quite unbalanced. One should know that hierarch was the top master in the divine world, but as long as he thought of his master's magical means, he could not even have the slightest thought of betraying her. Not to mention, his life was still in the hands of his master. Therefore, even if he felt that it was unfair, he had to accept it. This was the sorrow of being a subordinate. Good luck. After the Blood Cherry Blossom warned him, it disappeared. After a long time, the middle-aged man stood up from the ground. At this time, the black clothes on his body were mostly soaked in cold sweat. Then, he walked out of the secret chamber with difficulty. After the middle-aged man left, Baby walked to the side of the blood pool and looked at the huge flower that was on the verge of collapse and in full bloom. He reached out his claws. Little fellow, don't act rashly. If we are discovered by the true body of this flower, none of us will be able to leave this place. Seeing this, Uncle Long was so scared that he quickly held the treasure tightly in his arms. Now was not the time to pick flowers. His life was more important. I really hate this flower. I want to pull out its petals and see how it can still suck human blood. Baby said indignantly, Little ancestor, you don't want to live anymore. That flower is not simple. Uncle Long's face turned pale with fear as he hurriedly warned. How is it not simple? Wasn't it just a flower that liked to suck people's blood? It's probably the same race as the man-eating flower. Baby said disapprovingly, Little guy, I'm afraid even I can't deal with this Uncle Hua Long. Don't you think it's simple? Uncle Long asked. Although he wasn't sure about the origin of the flower, he could tell from the pressure that the Blood Cherry Blossom had just displayed that the flower's actual strength was higher than his. Otherwise, why would a middle-aged man address it as his lord? How could his lord be weak if he could make a reverent god submit to him? But Baby hesitated. It really wanted to rush the flower. Treasure. There's still a long way to go, so it won't be too late to pick up these flowers when you're stronger in the future. Let's quickly leave this place. Uncle Long urged. After he finished speaking, he extended his arm and hugged Ling Hiyu before leaving the secret room in a hurry. On the way out of the valley, even though Baby was filled with regret, it was still sensible and did not cause any trouble for Uncle Long. However, once they returned to Lung Ruoxu's house, Baby immediately snuggled into its master's warm embrace, unwilling to leave even if it meant death. Lung Ruoxue, who was sitting in the garden, saw the baby's appearance, and a trace of doubt appeared in her beautiful eyes. What's wrong with my baby? It was listless. My lovely master. Baby snuggled in Lung Ruoxu's arms, ignoring the evil man's glare, and acted coquettishly with its master. Little girl, I have something important to tell you. The helpless Uncle Long said straightforwardly. What? Lung Ruoxue saw the grave expression on Uncle Long's face and nodded her head. Then, she brought the evil demon and Uncle Long to the living room. After closing the door of the living room, Uncle Long told He Pan everything that he had heard in the valley. After Lung Ruoxue had heard it, her expression turned serious. Thanks, he didn't expect Godfather and the others to have the other party's hidden chess piece. With such a time bomb by their side, wasn't it in danger of exploding at any time? At the thought of this, Lung Ruoxue started to worry about the safety of her godfather and the others. Shuea, don't worry, the other party won't easily expose the hidden chess piece. Otherwise, the old man of the Ning family and the others would have been captured by the man in black long ago. Seeing Lung Ruoxue's worry, the evildoer consoled her. I know, Lung Ruoxu nodded. She was being overly concerned. She knew that Godfather and the others were strong enough to deal with any unexpected situation, but she still couldn't help but worry. I think as long as we quickly find Master Ning and the others and tell him about this, we'll find a way to find the hidden chess piece and everyone's safety will be guaranteed. Uncle Long said, Uncle Long, other than the few of us, don't let anyone else know about this for the time being, so as not to disturb their hearts and cause them to go out of control. Lung Ruashua said after some thought. I understand. Uncle Long nodded and continued, Oh, right. Little girl, a lot of the life force of those captured people has been absorbed. I wonder if you can concoct some life-restoring pills. If you can save them, they will owe you a big favor. If you need their help in the future, they will definitely do their best. A pill that can restore life force. Lung Ruashua was stunned. She had many pills that could replenish her divine power and heal her injuries, but she had never refined a pill that could recover her vitality. Uncle Long, how can a pill that can restore vitality be so easy to refine? Let's not talk about whether or not it can be successfully refined. I'm afraid we won't even be able to gather the medicinal herbs needed to refine the pill. The demon reminded. Although it would be beneficial for them to make those people or beasts owe Shui a favor, refining a pill that could restore vitality was not a joke. He didn't want Shui to work hard for those irrelevant people. What if she met a few ungrateful people? Wouldn't that be asking for trouble? I know. However, we just found a lot of precious and rare medicinal herbs and refining materials in the black-clothed man's treasure room. With those, it should be enough to refine vitality-restoring pills, right? Uncle Long said uncertainly. After all, he was an amateur when it came to alchemy. What kind of herbs do you have? When Lung Ruashua heard this, she asked curiously. There are so many good things that you can't even imagine. Uncle Long kept them in suspense. Although he didn't know how to refine pills, he was very familiar with precious natural treasures. This could also be considered a natural talent of Beastie. My lovely master, it's all here. At this moment, Baby took out a storage ring and passed it to Lung Ruashua. Lung Ruashua casually picked one up and inspected it with her divine sense. She was instantly overjoyed. As expected, they were all good things, and they were all things that she was very interested in. Then, she changed to another ring to check, and the joy on her face became more and more obvious. There's even dragon beard grass. With a thought, Lung Ruashua took out a light green, finger-thick, crystal-clear, and beautiful blade of grass. This was good stuff. Furthermore, it was the main ingredient in refining the best healing elixir. However, the dragon's beard had long become a legend in the divine realm, and she had only been lucky enough to see it among the herbs that her master had left for her. However, the dragon's beard was very difficult to cultivate. Therefore, the dragon's beard in her hand had always been lying in the storage room of the universal bracelet. Otherwise, Qingju would have made his move. But now that there was another dragon's beard grass, Qingju would probably be very happy. Chapter 1761, Blood Cherry Blossom 3. Little girl, it's just a dragon's beard grass. Calm down. There's even better stuff coming up. Uncle Long said with a mysterious smile. Really? Lung Ruashua couldn't hide her joy as she asked with a face full of anticipation. After that, she found many herbs that were more precious than the dragon's beard. There was even a fish scale flower that even her master had described as a legend. Seeing this, Lung Ruashua's mood could no longer be described with the word surprise. She was a little shocked. Baby, they've just razed the entire warehouse to the ground. When she saw this, Lung Ruashua could already guess that these items definitely did not belong to the men in black. In the end, she was numb to it. After placing all the items into the bracelet and handing it over to Qingju for safekeeping, Lung Ruashua gently stroked the baby's fur and praised, Treasure, you guys did well. Baby smiled proudly. However, when he heard Lung Ruashua only praise his beastie, Uncle Long was unhappy. Little girl, I did my part too. Why don't you praise me? Uncle Long pouted and acted cute. Uncle Long has worked hard too. He'll prepare a big meal for you tonight. Lung Ruakshu's face was full of black lines as she coaxed. This is more like it. Uncle Long was satisfied. Then he said, Little girl, now that you're so rich, it's not a big deal to support me, right? Uncle Long will be with you from now on. It is our honor that Uncle Long is willing to follow us. Lung Ruoxue could not help but wipe the cold sweat off her forehead. Then it's a deal. From now on, I, Uncle Long, am yours. Uncle Long said with a faint smile. However, his words scared Lung Ruoxue so much that she broke out in cold sweat. Lung Ruoxue looked at the evil man with a dark expression on her face and could not help but think in her heart, Uncle Long, isn't he just following us? Did he have to be so ambiguous? Ha ha, they're the people who follow you. Uncle Long added tactfully when he saw that the evildoer's expression was not too good. AI, looking at the mischievous Uncle Long, Lung Ruoxue felt helpless. She knew that Uncle Long was doing this on purpose. However, it was rare to see this side of Uncle Long, so it was quite novel. Sighing lightly, Lung Ruoxue turned to Uncle Long and said, Uncle Long, you should go back to your room and rest. I'm going to tell Fonda and the others to prepare dinner. With that, Lung Ruoxue and the evildoer left the living room. Just as they entered the garden, Lung Ruoxue heard a loud noise coming from the garden. She immediately exchanged glances with the demon, and the two of them walked towards the source of the noise. What happened? Lung Ruoxue frowned as she looked at Fonda Miss. This elder of the Yao family asked us to arrange accommodation for them, but I heard that we don't have to be responsible for their food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation, so we don't intend to arrange any for them. More importantly, there aren't that many rooms. Fonda reported truthfully. Elder Yao, didn't we agree on this before? Lung Ruoxue said as she looked at the Yao family elder who was leading the group. It was agreed, but you can't just kick us out of this house. The Yao family elder was so angry that his face and neck turned red as he shouted at the top of his lungs. Those who had the same thoughts as him also glared at him. Why can't I? We've saved you from the secret chamber and are willing to take you out of the secret realm. Isn't that enough? Lung Ruoxue raised her brows and said unhappily, we have also paid you. Since you have agreed to take us out of this secret realm, you should naturally protect our safety. How can you drive us out of this house? The elder of the Yao family said angrily. He would rather die than leave this place. There was no place safer than here. Where's the reward you paid? It was just a bunch of white notes, and he had the nerve to say that he paid? Moreover, the one who said that you don't have to be responsible for your food, clothing, accommodation, and transportation is you, right? This house is within the living area. So what's wrong with Fonda and the others asking you to leave? Lung Ruoxue retorted. Naturally, she was siding with him. Her words immediately rendered the Yao family elder speechless. After a long while, the Yao family elder finally stammered, we don't want to live in a room, okay? You can't be so heartless as to chase us out of this house. We will lose our lives if we stay outside. Thanks, if you don't want to go out, then pay. What's there to say? At this moment, the precious item in Lung Ruoxue's arms spoke in a cold voice. We've paid so much money, but we don't even have a place to stay. Now we want to stay in the courtyard, and you still want us to pay? The Yao family elder and the others widened their eyes in disbelief. We agreed on this back then. Besides, I haven't received your money yet. Baby spread out his little paws and said in a businesslike manner, you promised to take us out of the secret realm. The Yao family elder reminded. That's right. I did say that. But I didn't say that I have to ensure your safety before you leave the secret realm. So, the condition for taking you out is that you have to stay alive. Baby explained with an innocent look. This time, the Yao family elder and the others were all dumbfounded. If they were not willing to protect them, then why would they spend so much money to have these people escort them out of the mystic realm? This was a loss-making business. Of course, if you want us to be responsible for your safety in this secret plane, you'll also have to pay separately, including food, clothing, housing, and transportation. In short, I only collect money for one thing, and I'm afraid you'll find it expensive, so I separated all the payment. I put in a lot of effort for you guys. Seeing that they didn't say anything, Baby could only talk to himself again. After listening to Baby's words, Fonda and the others laughed in their hearts. None of them had expected that Baby, who usually loved to act coquettishly with their miss, would be so good at making money. This black-hearted and ruthless drive made them forget it. Did you hear what the baby said? Getting you out of the secret chamber is one thing. Getting you out of the mystery land is another. And your safety in the mystery land, as well as your clothes, food, and accommodation, are all counted separately. So, don't get it wrong. You only paid for getting out of the secret chamber and the mystery land, and you didn't choose any other items. Also, I only saw a pile of white slips, not even a shadow of crystal. Therefore, don't tell me how much you've paid us. We'll just take it as a big joke. Lung Ruashua said in an unpleasant tone. In fact, she didn't want to be so harsh to them, but these people had only been in the house for less than half a day, and they had already started to stir up trouble. Furthermore, they were led by the Yao family elders. She, who had never had a good impression of the Yao family, naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity to teach them a lesson. She wanted them to know that no matter what their previous status was, when they were here, they had to listen to her. Moreover, even if they were to stay outside the house, there wouldn't be much danger as long as they don't expose themselves. After all, Ling's invisibility was very useful. However, Lung Ruashua guessed that these people would never have thought that she would still let Ling cast an invisibility spell on them. Otherwise, they would not have judged the heart of a gentleman with the heart of a villain, even though she had never thought of herself as a gentleman. Miss Lung, let's have a good discussion. After a long while, the elder of the Yao clan gave in. At a time like this, he did not want to fall out with Lung Ruashua and the others. Initially, he had only wanted to use the power of the masses to make Lung Ruashua and the others not dare to look down on him. At the same time, he would fight for more benefits for himself. Who knew that he would overreach himself? Therefore, he could only think of a way to remedy this. What does Elder Yao want to discuss? If you guys didn't make a ruckus and just wanted to talk things out, I wouldn't have to make things so clear. Lung Ruashua sighed and said helplessly, I know, we weren't calm enough. We heard your subordinates telling us to wait outside the house, so we got anxious. The elder of the Yao family said politely, Elder Yao, what did I say? What I'm saying is that there aren't enough rooms, and the space in the courtyard is limited, so please move outside the house without us arranging your food, clothing, and accommodation, right? Fonda asked. Yes, that's the right thing to say. The Yao family elder nodded with a red face. If that's the case, how can you say we're kicking you out? Of course, we have to let our own people and those who have paid the room fee come first to our current rooms and courtyards. Isn't that right? Fonda asked again. That's right. That's right. The Yao family elder's forehead was covered in cold sweat. Then you still dare to wrong us. Fong Da's eyes widened in anger as he glared at the Yao family's elder. None of the Yao family's people were good. They were all so annoying. It was our slip of the tongue. We were too scared. The elder of the Yao family said pitifully, You were the ones who said you didn't need our arrangements. What's the use of being afraid now? Fonda shouted with his eyes wide open. Then we want you to arrange a place for us to stay. That should be fine, right? The Yao family elder said without any backbone. He really didn't want to leave this house. It's too late. The courtyard has been arranged. Fonda said with a smirk. You can also give us a small corner, as long as we can have a place to sit. The Yao family elder was unwilling to give up and settle for the second best. Are you sure? Fonda asked in disbelief. As long as you don't let us leave this house, anywhere is fine. We're willing to pay. Seeing that there was a chance, the Yao family elder quickly said, You can represent them? Fonda turned his gaze to the others and asked. Chapter 1762, Luring the Tiger Out of the Mountain. 1. Hearing Fong Da's words, the Yao family's elder quickly turned to look at the others, and the others immediately said, Elder Yao's opinion is our opinion. Everyone still had lingering fear. At this time, who dared to say that the Yao family elder didn't represent them? If someone really dared to say that the old man from the Yao family would definitely not care about them anymore. Right now, they really needed a pillar of support. It seemed that other than the Yao family's elder who had suffered together with them, they could not find any other suitable person. In that case, they'll arrange a corner for you. You were the ones who said you weren't picky. Don't be so picky when the time comes, or you'll definitely regret it. Feng said the ugly words first, which was also a warning in disguise. Even if it's a corner, the price is the same as staying in a room. So, you'd better consider it carefully before making a decision. At this time, Baby added. When Fengda heard its words, he couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. He thought to himself, this baby is really ruthless. He was clearly taking advantage of her. However, this was a good opportunity. Fortunately, he didn't say that the price would be reduced by half. Otherwise, he would have ruined the treasure. When the Yao family elder and the others heard Bao Bao's words, they were completely speechless. Why did they have to fight back and forth? They didn't get any benefits. Instead, they didn't pay any less, but they couldn't compare to others in what they paid. This was really too much. But what else could they say? If they had known earlier, they might as well have agreed to the other party's arrangement of food, accommodation, and transportation. What's with the Baby's eyes widened in anger. Just as he was about to say, and throw you into the river to feed the fish, he was interrupted by the Yao family elder. If the price is the same, then so be it. However, for the same price, the place we live in is not as good as others. Can you compensate us with something? The elder of the Yao family probed. To put it bluntly, he felt that he had suffered a loss, so he wanted to get back some face. You bastard! You don't have the right to talk about conditions. You can't stay if you want to. The baby roared angrily. He was so angry that all the fur on his body stood up, and he bared his fangs and brandished his claws. He was just short of rushing forward to scratch the Yao family elder. Stay. Well, stay. The Yao family elder wanted to cry, but had no tears. With this seemingly cute little fox, how could she be so fierce? Moreover, when the others heard his words, they seemed to have some resentment. In fact, who was he doing this for? Why didn't they understand him? He felt extremely aggrieved. Then stop talking nonsense. Otherwise, you won't be able to find anything, Baby urged. And the Yao family elder and the others nodded. Then, a series of procedures were carried out, such as writing an IOU, taking a blood oath, and so on. After going through all the procedures again, Fonda arranged for them to sit in a corner in the northwest corner of the yard. It was not big, only enough for them to sit cross-legged and meditate. There was no extra space. When the Yao family elder and the others saw this, their hearts were bleeding. Woo! They charged them 500,000 top-grade crystals just for this place. These people were really robbing them. No, this was much faster than robbery. However, as soon as they thought that their safety in the Mystery Land was guaranteed in the future, their hearts suddenly calmed down. This was probably the so-called spending money to avoid disaster. Thanks after settling them down, Fonda and the others began to prepare dinner. An indescribable fragrance soon filled the air. Although the Yao family elder and the others were some distance away from the garden, the delicious smell of the food still drifted into their noses. Immediately, some people's stomachs reacted uncontrollably and began to growl. This wasn't to say that they were hungry. After all, their cultivation levels weren't low, so it didn't matter if they didn't eat. However, they had all cultivated from ordinary people to deities. As a result, the deliciousness of this food still caused their stomachs to have a strong reaction. Many people couldn't help but sniffle with all their might, and some people even had suspicious liquid flowing out of the corners of their mouths. All of you better be a little more promising. Seeing them like this, the Yao family elder growled in a low voice. However, no one was willing to listen to him at this time. Even a divine venerable couldn't resist the temptation of delicious food, let alone these people who weren't divine venerables. His self-control was naturally not as good. As the fragrance grew stronger, some people couldn't stand it anymore and stood up, heading straight for the garden. After a long time, the people who had gone to the garden returned with a look of satisfaction on their faces. Seeing this, more and more people gave up their reservations and ran to the garden. In this way, a few hours passed. Everyone present, except the Yao family elder, couldn't resist the temptation of food and went to pay for it. However, it was conceivable that the food fee they paid this time would not be cheap. Elder Yao, it's such a pity that you didn't go, AI. The taste of the food was too good. I've lived for so long, but I've never eaten such delicious food. My life has not been in vain. The person closest to Elder Yao sighed. He had thought that he was dead for sure. Unexpectedly, not only was he saved, but he was also able to eat delicious food that he had never eaten before. It was worth it. It was really worth it, even though they had to spend a lot of money. However, he didn't have to worry about his debts. At most, he could pay them back slowly. You guys are really rich, the Yao clan elder said sinisterly. His expression was as unsightly as the bottom of a pot, and he couldn't help but curse in his heart. These people were really too embarrassing. So what if they hadn't eaten roasted food before? In fact, when he smelled the smell, he knew that the other party was roasting food. When they were outside for experience training in the past, the most common way to deal with food was to roast it. Therefore, he did not think that there was anything surprising about roasted food. However, these disgraceful guys were actually so eager to roast food. How could this not make him angry? Elder Yao, this money was well spent. We didn't eat to fill our stomachs, but to satisfy our appetites. Now, our wishes come true. Although we spent some money, the food was indeed delicious. To be honest, I've roasted food before, but the taste can't compare with other people's food. This was the difference. If you don't believe me, you can also go and pay for it. That person advised. Words were not proof. He felt that it was best to let the Yao family's elder personally experience it. At that time, Elder Yao would understand their feelings. I don't have that much money, the Yao family elder said in a bad mood. Oomph. He wouldn't fall for those people's tricks. Seeing this, the man stopped talking. However, he couldn't help but think in his heart, how could the Yao family not have money? Who would believe this? One had to know that at least half of the wealth in the divine realm was controlled by the 8 great divine regions. Now, the Yao family elder actually said that he had no money. Wasn't this making fun of him? Oomph. If you can't bear it, just say it. But why did you have to say you don't have money? Who are you trying to fool? Following that, everyone closed their eyes to rest. Those who wanted to respond to the Yao family elder all tactfully shut their mouths to avoid stirring up a stomach full of idle talk. For a moment, the atmosphere was extremely serious by the Yao family elder. Chapter 1763. Luring the Tiger Out of the Mountain, 2. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue was in the living room, listening to Feng Da's report on the situation in the garden. Miss, other than that old man from the Yao family, everyone else is buying food from us. Feng Da said happily. This was another big income. Oh, the Yao family has always been like this. Lung Ruoxue said disapprovingly. Yes. Feng Da quickly nodded. He would make more delicious food tomorrow. He didn't believe that he couldn't get money from the Yao family elder's pocket. Feng Da, I will leave this place with Uncle Long and the evildoer tomorrow. However, for your safety, I will set the rule that you can only leave and not enter this house. If anyone tries to cause trouble, you can just clean it up. The beasts in the endless ocean will help you. Lung Ruoxue told Feng Da about her arrangements. Feng Da frowned and said, Miss, are you going to find Master Ning and the others? Bring me along. I'm not bringing anyone but Uncle Long and the demon. Feng Da, I've left you here to lower the guards of the men in black. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been easy for us to leave. With you here, the men in black will be more at ease. As long as you don't take the initiative to go out, you won't be in danger. Lung Ruoxue reminded. She had already thought of everything for Feng Da and the others. All right then. Although Feng Da was a little reluctant, he still nodded. Miss, are you guys coming back tonight? Then Feng Da asked. I don't think so. Don't worry about us. You'll be at ease as long as you take care of yourselves. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Don't worry, miss. We'll take care of ourselves. Feng Da promised. That's good. As for my departure, don't let too many people know about it. Just say that I'm in seclusion to refine pills. Lung Ruoxue said after some thought. And Feng Da nodded. After that, Lung Ruoxue instructed Feng Da on some other matters before letting him leave with a peace of mind. The next day, Lung Ruoxue, the demon, and Uncle Long then turned invisible and left. After walking out of the valley for a distance, Lung Ruoxue gave each of them a disguise pill. After they ate it, the three of them appeared in the mystic realm with the appearance of strangers. "Little girl, your disguise pill is really amazing. Even my aura has changed." A mirror appeared in Uncle Long's hand, and he said in surprise. However, when he saw the ugliest face in the mirror, he felt depressed again. Although his appearance could not be compared to that of a demon, he was still considered a handsome uncle. In this situation, he probably didn't even need to do anything to scare off a group of people. Lung Ruoxue, who was at the side, saw that the usually tough Uncle Long had actually taken out a mirror to look at himself. Instantly, her forehead was filled with black lines. She didn't expect that Uncle Long was also a fan of beauty. One must know that the beasts in this world rarely prepared a mirror for themselves. At most, they would only look at themselves in the river. For Uncle Long to act like this, it really made her fall into a mirror. "What's wrong? Are you surprised?" Back in the day, Uncle Long was also a handsome man when he was young. "I don't know how many female beasts like me." Uncle Long's torch-like eyes seemed to reveal a trace of nostalgia. "I've never doubted Uncle Long's charm. There will be many female beasts who will like Uncle Long now." Even though Lung Ruoxue was sweating profusely, she still replied in a cooperative manner. "Thanks, ha. Little girl, you have good taste." However, Uncle Long's standards are extremely high, and he won't take a fancy to those ordinary beasts. Uncle Long said in a good mood. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxue could not help but sigh. A man's heart was truly like a needle at the bottom of the sea. Uncle Long, who had been frowning a moment ago, suddenly changed his expression because of her words. The speed at which he changed his expression was faster than turning the pages of a book. When he saw Lung Ruoxue looking at him helplessly, Uncle Long's smile grew wider. Then, the three of them continued on their way. At night, Lung Ruoxue immediately brought the evildoer and Uncle Long into the bracelet. In fact, she was willing to bring Uncle Long in because she had thought about it carefully. After all, she trusted her judgment of people. Moreover, Uncle Long was not a human. If a human would covet her ring, the beast would definitely not have such thoughts. This was also the main reason why she was more friendly to the beasts. Uncle Long wasn't used to the change of location, but when he saw the strong spiritual chi in the bracelet, he was ecstatic. This was really a good place for cultivation. However, he was already a reverent god, so the strong spiritual chi here didn't seem to have much effect on him. However, to be able to live in such a place with strong spiritual chi was a very comfortable and wonderful thing for them. Turning around, Uncle Long looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face full of joy. He could not help but ask, "Little girl, where are we?" He knew that this little girl wasn't simple. Now, it seemed that his decision to follow her was really wise. This is naturally also the space of one of my divine artifacts. Lung Ruoxue deliberately kept him in suspense. "I'm afraid that house can't compare to this divine artifact." Uncle Long understood. Although they were all spatial-type divine artifacts, there are also high and low-quality ones. And Lung Ruoxue nodded. Hee. Little girl, Uncle Long knew that following you was the right thing to do. Oh, there's so many houses there, so Uncle Long, they'll just pick one to live in. Uncle Long was an experienced man. Since Lung Ruoxue was willing to bring him in, he knew that this little lass didn't treat him as an outsider. Hence, he didn't stand on ceremony with Lung Ruoxue. However, he wouldn't ask what he shouldn't ask. However, Lung Ruoxue's actions had warmed his cold heart. This little girl was one of the most impressive humans he had ever seen. Uncle Long, those houses have owners, and I've already ordered my spirit beast to build a new house for you. I'll have them take you there. Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. Good. When Uncle Long heard that all the houses had owners, he was disappointed. However, when he heard that Lung Ruoxue had built a new house for him, his face lit up with joy. Following that, a small silver wolf the size of a palm ran over happily. It rubbed against Lung Ruoxue's leg affectionately and brought Uncle Long to see the room. Not long after, Uncle Long returned with a satisfied look on his face. "Little girl, I really like the room." "Thank you," Uncle Long said with a smile. That smile was definitely from the bottom of his heart. "Uncle Long, I also helped to build a house." The little silver wolf in Uncle Long's arms said in a slightly coquettish manner. "Hee hee, Uncle Long knows." "Thank you, little Foam Foam." Uncle Long stroked the silver wolf's soft fur and said affectionately. He did not expect to see so many magical beasts here, including the Phoenix clan and the Dragon clan, the two king divine beast clans of the divinity. At that moment, Lung Ruakshu's status in his heart rose by quite a bit. Chapter 1764. Luring the Tiger Out of the Mountain 3. Hee hee. The silver wolf giggled, then jumped down from Uncle Long's arms and went to play. "Little girl, you really surprised me." Uncle Long sighed. He had thought that the three of them would have to sleep in the wilderness. Who would have thought that Lung Ruashua would give him such a pleasant surprise? "All right, little girl, do all the beasts here belong to you?" Uncle Long asked curiously. They're all my beastie." Lung Ruashua did not deny it. After hearing Lung Ruakshu's words, Uncle Long sized her up in disbelief. His gaze made her heart tremble. Half a moment, Uncle Long widened his eyes and asked in disbelief, "How did you manage to contract so many beastie?" From what he knew, contracting a spiritual beast required a lot of mental energy. Hence, there was a limit to the number of spiritual beasts that a human could contract. He had lived for so long and had never seen a human like Lung Ruashua who could contract so many spiritual beasts without limit. How terrifying was her mental energy? He simply didn't dare to imagine. "I don't know," Lung Ruashua answered honestly. Most of her spiritual beasts had delivered themselves to her doorstep, so it did not take much effort for her to keep them. However, she also knew that contracting a spiritual beast required a huge amount of mental energy. However, she did not feel that her mental energy had reached its limit, so she had more and more spiritual beasts. After hearing this, Uncle Long kept blinking his eyes, not knowing what to say. "Hee hee, what's the big deal? Big sister's aptitude isn't something ordinary people can compare to." At this moment, Ching Ju's voice rang in the ears of the three of them. Then, a chubby little child appeared. "All right, I admit that this little girl is a pervert, okay? But who are you?" Uncle Long asked with great interest as he looked at Ching Ju, who was acting like an adult. "In the manager of this space, which means in the spirit of this divine artifact," Ching Ju said proudly. When Uncle Long heard Ching Ju's arrogant words, he carefully sized him up from head to toe. Then, he even poked Ching Ju's pink and tender little face with his finger. He sighed and said, "It feels exactly the same as a real baby. What else do you think?" Ching Ju's face darkened, and he was obviously a little unhappy. Sob, he was being taken advantage of by the strange uncle. I want to tell you that this is my first time seeing an artifact spirit," Uncle Long said, a little embarrassed. Hearing Uncle Long's words, Lung Ruashua couldn't help but purse her lips and snicker. Uncle Long was actually getting more and more humorous. "It doesn't matter. Your reaction is very normal. I won't laugh at you," Ching Ju said very seriously. "Hee hee, that's good," Uncle Long coaxed. After that, he pretended to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead, but he couldn't help but sigh in his heart. It really wasn't easy to coax a little doll. Seeing the interaction between Uncle Long and Ching Ju, Lung Ruashua did not disturb them. Instead, she pulled the evildoer and left quietly. Meanwhile, Uncle Long, accompanied by Ching Ju, the local tyrant, started to tour the entire space. Everywhere they went, Uncle Long was like a Granny Lou who had entered a Grandview garden. He couldn't even see enough. After a round, he felt deeply inferior and felt that his choice was wise. There were so many good things in here that it was dazzling. In the end, Ching Ju even patted Uncle Long's shoulder and comforted him. "Don't be sad. Your reaction is better than others. You don't have to feel inferior. In. Uncle Long nodded and scurried into his room. He faced the wall and pondered. The next morning, they continued their journey. After searching for a long time, they finally found a house in the evening half a month later by an unremarkable, almost dried-up stream. He observed the house from afar. From the outside, it looked no different from the one that Lung Roashue owned. From the refinement technique, Lung Roashue could also tell that it was refined by the Grand Elder. However, the area of the house in front of her didn't look very big, and the height of the house was only about 1 meter. However, Lung Roashue knew that this was just a smokescreen. The Grand Elder's actions were probably afraid of attracting the attention of the black-robed men in the mystic realm, which was why he kept such a low profile. But even so, the house was still surrounded by fierce monsters. Fortunately, these monsters did not have much intelligence. They were more like battle machines. Hence, the first elder and the rest were able to hide here safely without being discovered by the men in black. However, the moment she thought of the hidden spy beside them, Lung Roakshu's heart began to race again. Little girl, this house is similar to yours. The person we're looking for should be here, Uncle Long said with uncertainty. Thanks, Anne. Lung Roashue nodded. Even though she wasn't too sure, she knew that the Grand Elder had elemental breath. Hence, it wouldn't be difficult for him to create a spatial god tool that could accommodate people. Then let's go in and find her, Uncle Long urged. He was extremely annoyed when he saw these monsters. He couldn't help but think of the black-clothed men who had been sucked dry. Therefore, he couldn't wait to leave this place. Uncle Long, evildoer, you guys go and contact the people in the house. He'll go and lure those monsters away. Lung Roashue said after some thought. No, it's too dangerous. He'll go and draw the monsters away. Uncle Long retorted. In her opinion, Lung Roashue was the weakest among the three of them. Furthermore, she was a girl. How could he, a reverent god, allow a little girl to do such a thing? If word of this got out, he would be looked down upon by many beastie. More importantly, he could not bear for Lung Roashue to take this risk. After all, he truly treated Lung Roashue as a junior of his family. Hence, he would not let Lung Roashue go. Uncle Long, only my flames can cause damage to these monsters. Moreover, I still have room to save my life. Therefore, no one is more suitable than me for this task. So, you can rest assured, I know what I'm doing. Lung Roashue promised. Her words left Uncle Long speechless because what Lung Roashue said was the truth. In terms of life-saving methods, he was indeed no match for her. Shue, be careful, the demon warned. Although he didn't want Shue to take the risk, he knew that Lung Roashue was a woman of her word. He couldn't stop her. Don't worry, I won't risk my life. After Lung Roashue finished speaking, she used her divine power to create a fiery red dragon. Then, she jumped onto the dragon's back and flew towards the direction where the monsters were gathering. The monsters that had gathered outside the house had discovered a new target and immediately left to chase after Lung Roashue. How can you also let the little girl do such a thing? As he watched Lung Roakshu's back view, Uncle Long was a little annoyed. He had thought that this devilish man who cared a lot about this little girl would stop him, who knew that he only told her to be careful. Once Shue has decided on something, she won't easily change her mind, the demon said. But in his heart, he was thinking, if it wasn't for the fact that the Great Elder and the others didn't recognize you, I wouldn't have to be here accompanying you. But we can still approach the house invisibly. Uncle Long couldn't help but ask. It's a critical time right now. If we go in stealth, the people in the house won't believe us. If we don't, we'll alert a large number of monsters. When we want to enter the house, I'm afraid the people inside won't dare to open the door for us. So, luring the tiger away from the mountain is the best way. The demon said. No one dared to take the risk at this moment. All right, you're right. Uncle Long was a little dejected, but he still followed behind the evildoer and slowly approached the house. As he got closer to the house, the demon knocked on the door gently. However, there was no movement from inside. Seeing this, the demon continued to knock. However, because of his knocking, The people in the house were like birds startled by the twang of a bow, their faces pale. At this moment, apart from a few of them who were recuperating in their rooms due to their severe injuries, the rest of them were all hiding in the garden, not daring to pay attention to the movements outside. Go and see who is knocking on the door. At this time, the master of the Een family, whose face was a little pale, ordered. However, no one carried out his words. I can't order you around anymore, can I? Looking at the motionless crowd, the master of the Een family exploded in anger and roared again. Master Een, there's no need to look anymore. Those monsters must be trying to trick us out, so they're deliberately making some noise. An elder of the Chung family said in fear. Fuck, your monster would knock on the door so politely? The master of the Een family was so angry that he really wanted to throw this embarrassing elder of the Chung family out. Unfortunately, this guy wasn't a member of the Een family. Otherwise, he would definitely teach him a good lesson. This must be a new trick that the monsters came up with to trick us out. The elder from the Chung clan said stubbornly, Fucking disappear from my sight right now, or I don't mind teaching you a lesson on behalf of Old Man Chung. After hearing the Chung clan's elder's words, the Een clan's master couldn't take it anymore and roared. After he finished speaking, he walked toward the door in a huff. Oof. If these timid guys couldn't be ordered, then he would go personally. When the others saw this, they quietly followed behind him. At the door, Master Een frowned and shouted, Who is it? You dare to knock on the door? Chapter 1765, Violent Uncle Dragon. 1. When the demon heard this voice, he was stunned for a moment. Then he said loudly, Old Man Een, quickly open the door. Who are you? When a master of the Een family saw that the other party recognized him, he suddenly became alarmed. However, out of caution, he naturally would not open the door casually. Otherwise, the monsters that had been guarding outside would rush in without hesitation. At that time, their lives would be in danger. However, this name was really familiar. My surname is Yi. Have you forgotten? The demon laughed coldly. He was still resentful of what the master of the Een family had done in the past. Night, the master of the Een family frowned and thought. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and remembered who this guy was. Fuck, isn't that the robber surnamed Yi? What's he doing here? Since you remember, quickly open the door. The demon said impatiently. Oh, the master of the Een family nodded in embarrassment. He couldn't afford to offend this guy. However, just as the master of the Een family was about to open the door, he was stopped by the person behind him. Master Een, you can't open the door. The elder of the Chung family said. Why can't I? I know him. The master of the Een family said unhappily. He was trapped here. Was he being too easy to talk to? Otherwise, why did none of them take him seriously? In fact, he had overthought it. He still had a supreme position in these people's hearts. However, these people were too concerned about their lives. Therefore, as long as there was a slight movement, they would be extremely nervous. Moreover, at this time, they could not care about the strong being respected. They were about to lose their lives, so what was the use of pursuing the strong? Moreover, the patriarchs of the 8 great divine regions, who were usually high and mighty, had no way to deal with this matter. As a result, the words of the patriarchs were not as intimidating as they usually were. Master Een, even if you know him, you can't risk the lives of so many people. There are so many monsters out there. If you open the door and let him in, what if those monsters come in as well? What should we do then? The elder from the Chung family said worriedly. The others quickly chimed in after hearing his words. Yup, Master Een, you have to consider all of us. This is the only place we can settle down in the secret plane. We can't let those monsters occupy it, otherwise we'll really be dead. Another person worriedly said, Fuck, open the door. We're here to save you. Before the master of the Een family could say anything, Uncle Long, who was standing outside the door, couldn't help but roar. These people really didn't know what was good for them. The little girl risked her life to save them, but they didn't know how to be grateful. They even wanted to shut them out for their own lives. This was outrageous. If it wasn't for the little girl's life-saving means and her ability to deal with these monsters, the three of them would have long become the stomachs of these monsters. The more Uncle Long thought about it, the angrier he got. If they weren't separated by a door, he would have cut those guys who had just spoken into pieces. He saved us. You obviously came to us because you saw that we had a way to save our lives. But you still have the cheek to say that you're here to save us. Your skin is really thick. That person continued. You, who the fuck are you? If you have the guts, report your name. Hearing this, Uncle Long was instantly enraged. Now, he truly felt that it was not worth it for the little girl to come and save them. What do you want to do? Sensing the hostility in the other party's tone, the person said with a trembling voice, You shut up. At this time, the master of the Een family couldn't take it anymore and shouted. The man didn't fear Uncle Long, but he couldn't ignore the master of the Een family. Therefore, he kept his mouth shut. Thanks, old man Een, open the door quickly. Otherwise, you could just live and die here. After listening to the lively atmosphere, the evildoer said with a smile that was not a smile. These people had already exhausted his patience. At the same time, he was worried about Lung Ruox's safety. Hence, he did not want to waste any more time with them. If they still did not open the door, he would have to leave with Uncle Long. Oh, wait a moment. This time, the master of the Een family moved very quickly. He didn't give the others a chance to react before he opened the door. Seeing this, Uncle Long entered in a flash, while the demon turned and left. Why did he leave? Master Een asked in confusion as he watched the back of the evildoer and closed the door. He was worried about the little girl's safety, so he went to look for her. Uncle Long said honestly, although the kid didn't tell him, he knew that, You guys, Master Een stuttered. Actually, he wanted to ask, who are you guys? And how did the Yi brat become ugly? If he didn't know that no one here would pretend to be Yi, and no one knew how they got along, he would have suspected that this guy was a fake. You can call me Uncle Long. I'm the little girl's man. Uncle Long could tell that the master of the Een family was in a dilemma. However, the master of the Een family was a little unhappy when he called him Uncle Long. This guy actually wanted her to call him Uncle Long. This was clearly taking advantage of her. This was really too much. However, who was the little girl he was talking about? Excuse me, who is the little girl you're talking about? After thinking for a while, Master Een asked the question in his heart. The little girl is Lung Ruoxiue, the Ning family head, and the others all know him. Uncle Long said lightly, The master of the Een family lowered his head. Could he say that he also knew that little devil? However, when he heard from the other party that it was Lung Ruoxiue, his heart was completely at ease. Where did that little girl go? The master of the Een family asked. She went to draw the monsters away. Otherwise, she would attract the monsters' attention if she got close to the house. Uncle Long said matter-of-factly, but the worry in his eyes disappeared. After all, he treated Lung Ruoxiue as his junior. No matter how capable his own child was, she was still a child in his eyes. No wonder. The master of the Een family sighed. He didn't know what to say. Even a little girl dared to do this, but they, the men, could only hide here. This fact made him feel quite aggrieved. Uncle Long glanced at the master of the Een family and turned to the others. Who was the one who told us not to come in? And you said that we would bring you danger? When Uncle Long said this, his eyes were very unfriendly and his expression was very ugly. Not only that, but he also deliberately released a trace of pressure. Instantly, those who had been frightened like birds felt endless pressure. At this time, if they still didn't know that Uncle Long's strength was more than a little bit higher than theirs, they would have lived all these years in vain. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.